Good evening, and welcome to a special edition of Make We Talk. This evening, we're going to speak on the state of public emergency and is Jamaicans' constitutional rights at risk? With me this evening, I have well-known former FBI agent Wilfred Rattigan and the fireman himself from News Talk 93 FM, Conrad O'Brien. We also have the great-great-grandson of Paul Bogo in St. Thomas, Sir Marcel Clark. He's going to come on in the next couple of minutes. But this evening, we're going to dive into the whole issue of Jamaicans. Are their constitutional right at risk with the government of Jamaica? This evening, we're trying to find out if our fellow Jamaicans' rights has been trampled upon by the government of Jamaica. Not only by the government of Jamaica, not only by this government, but successful government. We're going to start off with the whole idea of what happened in the Senate, where the opposition senators decide not to vote on the SOE, but also something was said in the youth parliament by the president of the Senate, Thomas Tavares Finson, that really opened my eyes. We're going to dive into that also. Also this evening, the chairman of the Police Federation, our good friend Sir Rowan James, is licking out left, right, and center. And clipping was sent to me. He did an interview on a radio station. And also he was at a funeral and he never minced words to chastise the government of Jamaica. He even went as far and said that we don't need an SOE. What they need to do is to give the police, men and women, the tool to fight the crime pandemic in Jamaica. So this evening, we're going to dig deep and deep in this. We're going to start off with our good friend from News Talk 93 FM, Sir Conrad O'Brien. Go ahead, sir.
Indeed, a very pleasant good evening to all in the reach of my voice, and indeed to the panel, the esteemed panel that you have assembled here this evening. It's always a pleasure joining you, and of course, today being the 30th of the 30th of the month.
Yes,
it's about 30th? Yes, 30th. It's about 20 minutes after 7 o'clock right here in Jamaica. And I deem this as a pleasure once again to join you all here to impart whatever information I can to my Jamaican people, both at home and indeed in the diaspora. The Senate, as we know, have spoken loud and clear as it relates to those who sat or who sits on the opposition benches in the lower house, in the upper house, I'm sorry. Because as you know, or for those who are not aware, the Senate of Jamaica consists of 13 government senators and 8 opposition senators at any material time. Therefore, there are certain conventions within the Constitution that demands a 2/3 majority for it to be passed, whether in the lower or upper house. Now, it's never ever a question as to what would happen in the lower house, because the Jamaica Labour Party that now formed the administration has an overwhelming majority in the lower house. They have all of 49 seats, 48, and the Prime Minister make 49. So it is clear that they have an overwhelming majority, because you'd only need about 42 or 41 to get that 2/3. Now there's a different kettle of fish in the upper house, and it was done in that way to safeguard the constitutional right and to buttress the system so that the government, whichever political party formed the government, would not be able to run rough shadows over the Jamaican people and get everything through the parliament as they have a mind. So we saw where the 8 opposition senators vote en bloc to reject the continuation of the SOE. Now, we will delve into it much more, but I just want to say that it has been, we use terms at times in a wrong way. The truth is that the SOE itself is not unconstitutional. It is how it is structured and being used at this time. And we have a document. Mr. Rattigan has it in his possession. I'll allow him to expound on it. It's a case that was done in the Supreme Court, between Mr. Everton Douglas versus the Attorney General and the Minister of National Security. And the Supreme Court clearly outlined that the way that the government is going about executing the state of emergency, it is being done unconstitutionally. And hence, the opposition, PNP, along with groups such as Jamaican for Justice and the Churches Association also weighed in. And a lot of Jamaican people from the Bar Association and so on, all believe that it was a magnificent move that was made by the opposition, and they showed gumption even against the background when they have been abused and accused by the government of Jamaica to be supporting criminals when they dare to defend the rights of the Jamaican people. That's my opening salvo.
Thank you very much, Conrad O'Brien. Wilfred Rattigan, former FBI agent, the son of Waterhouse, who has been standing up for Jamaicans in the diaspora and in Jamaica. Your take on the whole constitutionality, or should I say your take on the fundamental constitutional rights of the Jamaican people, sir?
Yes. Good night, distinguished panelists, and good night to your listening audience, Brother Jeffrey Tavares. As Conrad Fireman O'Brien just said, and he gave a very good overview of the constitutionality of SOEs. And he's right. I do have the document. I'm perusing through it. I haven't digested the entire thing. However, I can safely tell you that my fellow panelist is correct in that the court ruled against the government in the way the SOE was implemented. For the fact that people were held ranging, I think the defendants were, 4 or 5. I'm open to being fully corrected on that.
Indeed.
And they were held without bail and without a hearing, anywhere ranging from about 4.5 months to over a year. And the court felt that that was unjust. The court felt that In fact, the court even described the role of the Governor General in the process and things that he did, things that he shouldn't have done. But it's fair to say that it violated the certain fundamental rights and liberties of the individuals. And the court felt that the mechanism used was not in accordance with the Constitution. And therefore, they ruled for the plaintiffs. Now, this particular case, I think there's another case, two cases where the government suffered a setback, and they're on appeal. Now, what's interesting is that, and I'm going to take a different look at this than my colleague, the great Conrad O'Brien. The way, like, for example, the way it works in the States is if you bring an action in a trial court and there's a ruling against you, you have to stop doing what you're doing. If there's, and then appeal. And you wait for the appeals court, you wait for that court to render a decision, good or bad. And if they render a decision in your favor, then you resume the process. But they can't rule against you and you continue to do what they've ruled against pending the appeal. And this is exactly what's going on in Jamaica. They ruled against them and they came out with the same process, the same mechanism, the same thing. And it would have behooved them to say, the government to say, look, you know what? Let's work with the opposition and let's put into place something that we think will satisfy the trial courts or the court's decision. But we will appeal it. And then once the appeal is heard, then you move on from there. What's interesting in all of this is that the Governor General is supposed to be non-partisan, objective, and independent. And none of this can take place without him. I made that abundantly clear in my program last night, Reason with Rattigan, where I had on my esteemed colleague, Mr. Conrad O'Brien. None of this can take place without the Governor General giving his approval. And here, despite the fact that a court said, look, what you're doing is in violation of the Constitution and we're not going to allow it to happen. Despite that, he went ahead and he signed off on all of the, signed off on states of emergency since the court decision. Now, I'd like to ask this question. When did the PNP stop agreeing, or when did they stop trying to find the word, the legal term? I'll just use a regular term. When did they stop agreeing with the JLP in terms of agreeing to issue the state of emergency? What year?
I think they just started doing it now because
No. They started about I think it happened just before the 2020 election. Just before the 2020 election. Mm-hmm.
No, my brother. No, this is where I have my problem with them. This is where I have my problem with them, because it appears to me they supported it. The PNP supported this thing in 2018 numerous times, in 2019 numerous times, and then after the election, after they lost the election, they stopped supporting it. And so I'm saying
before
when did they stop supporting? When did they stop supporting it?
Before they lost the election, they had, that was under, I think it was to the all right, what had happened? We did not go into the election with an SOE because the PNP decided that they would not go into the election with an SOE because it would restrict their movement. I remember that distinctly. But I also want to say, Mr. Rattigan, that what happened, you mentioned the court ruled. The court ruled, And as a result of that, the government of the day should stop, using the SOE as a tool. And that is why a number of persons here in Jamaica, including the opposition and people from the Bar Association, the lawyers, they are saying, and Jamaica for Justice indeed, they are saying that the government under Prime Minister Holness leadership actually acting in contravention and disrespect the court because there has been a ruling and you should basically abide.
I agree. I agree completely. And that's the part I don't understand. If there is a court ruling against you, you are supposed to comply with that court proceeding. You reserve your right to appeal. But while you're appealing, you can't continue doing the same thing that the court ruled against. So I don't understand. I don't understand that part of it. The thing is, why haven't anyone gone to the court to get an injunction against further SOEs based on the SOE that was ruled against by the court?
I want you to listen to something that I taped off nationwide. Hope they don't sue me for it.
No, man, they can't. Just give them their credit. You're fine.
With a constitutional lawyer was on their program. And when I heard the lawyer speak about certain things, I raised my eyebrow. Listen to this.
The powers to have the Governor General proclaim a state of emergency. It also says in
you hearing it?
Section 20,
yes.
Section 2, Section 5, Paragraph 5. The court shall be competent to inquire into and determine whether a proclamation or resolution purporting to have been made or passed under this section was made or passed for any purpose specified in this section, or whether any measures taken pursuant thereto are reasonably justified for that purpose. So the court, in fact, would have the power to review, to look at the measures taken to see whether or not they're constitutional. The question, of course, is what position is the court likely to take? Because this would be unprecedented, this would be new. What we do know is that since our new Charter of Rights, the court has taken a very strong position in relation to protecting the rights and freedoms listed under the Charter. And the particular rights and freedoms that we're talking about, of course, this is concerning the question of detention without charge. The Constitution quite clearly provides that such rights shall not be abridged or abrogated or infringed against unless it is for demonstrably justified reasons in terms of a free and democratic society. What the NIDS case, the recent NIDS case showed in terms of the approach of our court is that the burden would be on the government to show that it is justified. The old law, the old approach was that there was a presumption of constitutionality. That no longer applies. What happens, therefore, if the government has proclaimed a state of emergency in whatever parish? It is not extended because it has failed to get the 2/3 majority required by the Constitution, and the government simply puts it back up. In my view, the government would have a difficulty justifying the new proclamation. And the reason for that is that when you look at the provisions of the Constitution in relation to the declaration of a state of emergency, it not only says that it can only last 14 days unless you have a 2/3 majority of both houses allowing for the extension, but it also says that that extension cannot be for more than 3 months at a time. So it seems to me that the courts are likely to find that states of emergencies should only be used for emergencies, and that the Constitution did not intend for you to use it in a chronic way to deal with crime or anything else. So if in fact the state of emergency proclamation was rejected by Parliament and the government simply brings it back, it seems to me that the court may find that it is not reasonably justifiable to have that instituted in terms of the protection of citizens and their rights.
Mm-hmm. Well, very, very interesting perspective.
What you also should understand, Cliff, is that we know that the courts have already made certain rulings in relation to states of emergency. But this did not actually stop the government from bringing back the last set of proclamation. And the reason for that is that what the courts had before them at the time were regulations that were put forward under the Emergency Powers Act. Because remember, when the state of emergency is declared, what it is really saying is that regulations can now be made under the Emergency Powers Act because the Governor General has declared a state of emergency. The Emergency Powers Act is constitutional. That's not the problem. The regulations thereunder may not be. And that is what the courts actually found in the particular cases of the 6 or however many detainees that the matters came up. Mm-hmm. That in fact, the way the regulations are written, the circumstances, etc., and how it was handled was not constitutional.
Not the SOE itself.
Say that again, Chris.
Not the SOE itself.
Right. Precisely, because it's only the regulations that the court were looking at to determine constitutionality. Mm-hmm. Now, what can happen then is that the government can come back with new regulations that simply conform to the requirements that the court had said was needed. And that would be all right in terms of them bringing it back.
So the argument then, Mr. McFarlane, that the use of the SOE as a crime-fighting tool was ruled unconstitutional is not an appropriate reading of the court's ruling.
No, what the court can only rule on what was brought before it. And what the court had was concerning the detention of certain individuals under the regulation. The court ruled that no, the regulations were unconstitutional.
There was a suggestion that the court also said the government did not make out that an emergency exists to use the emergency powers in that way.
I thought.
The court ruled that.
Well, don't hold me specifically. I don't have the judgment in front of me. But the fact of the matter is that this is where the government should have been really concerned. Mm-hmm. This is where perhaps the government should have waited to hear its appeal go through before coming back with measures without clarity on the position that the courts really have. Because remember, the ruling by Justice Bertram Morrison, even though at the Supreme Court level, is the law as it presently applies unless and until a higher court says otherwise. Mm-hmm. The government appeals.
What is your reading, Mr. Barnett, on Mr. McFarlane, on the section that says here of the Emergency Powers Act in relation to the declaration of a state of public emergency, that action has been taken or is immediately threatened by any person or body of persons of such a nature and on so extensive a scale as to be likely to endanger the public safety or to deprive the community or any substantial portion of the community of supplies or services essential to life. But just that first clause about being endangering public safety, isn't it reasonable to offer, and this is my question, isn't it reasonable to offer that the current murder rate, which is how many times above the global average, is a threat to public safety? Is that an unreasonable argument to put forward?
That what? Say that again.
That the current murder rate, which is many times above the global average. The global average of between about 6 or 10 per 100,000, and Jamaica is about 40 something per 100,000.
50 odd.
And 50 odd in some cases as well, in some years. Isn't it a reasonable argument to put forward that that is a threat to public safety?
All right. Let me point out, it's an important question because it's something that, again, the court might have to look at. But that section has been the section used to be the basis for our SOEs, declarations of public emergencies, because that is the only section under the Constitution that could be used. The other two, of course, deals with a state of war, imminence of a state of war, which is not applicable, and of course, public disaster caused by earthquake, hurricane, etc., which is not applicable. So that the government had to look at that section, Section B, that action has been taken or is immediately threatened by any person or body of persons. Now, immediately is the key word. We are still trying to deal with an emergency situation, not a chronic crime situation that has been going on for decades. It is not intended, it is in my view, it is not intended for a state of emergency to be used as a chronic crime fighting tool. It just erodes the whole purpose of the section. This is why it is only for 14 days. This is the point. You have to understand that the government chooses to deal with crime by using the state of emergency over and over. It is my view that a court may find that that is not what the Constitution intended.
Yes.
It is not intended to use it in that form.
Where could just give us a quick response to this?
Conrad O'Brien and Wilfred Rattigan. The Jamaican people need to know. Because based on what this law is saying, if I am wrong, you all are more learned than myself. You can tell me, say, hey, Jeffrey, you're wrong. But based on what Lord McFarlane is saying, the Constitution was not designed for any political party to be using it as a crime fighting mechanism.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I wanted to defer to my good friend, the rebel, Wilfred Rattigan, to come in and speak before I jump in. I have a few things that I want to say, but I'm going to defer to counsel to respond first. Counsel, go ahead.
Yes. And I know Mr. McFarlane. I know him when he used to practice law in New York. He's absolutely correct. The state of emergency itself, in and of itself, is not unconstitutional. But when what they try to do is they try to implement it using a certain section of the law where Mr. McFarlane referred to it about the immediacy of the threat. And what is interesting is that if the government is going to use that, and I'm sure lawyers in Jamaica defending, the people who have whose rights have been violated, they'll raise this argument. They'll say, look, how do you determine an immediate emergency? How do you, well, by itself, an emergency suggests immediacy, but how do you determine it? How do you determine that the first clause in the law where this, because one is if you're at war, one is for natural disasters, I believe, and the other one is for this, for emergencies of this nature. What formula do you use? I mean, that's what I would ask the government, because if the government is going to say, well, because of the high crime rate, I'll say, well, if that is the case, we're going to be in a permanent state of emergency then, because the crime rate is always high. The murder rate is always high. So what's the formula you're using? Is it the international standard per 100,000? Is that, see, they didn't say that. They didn't say that. And then again, I go back to this gentleman, the one who has the power under the Constitution to declare state of emergency, the Governor General. He has a staff, I believe, including attorneys, and they should have briefed him on this. And to make it worse, the court ruled against the government, and they continue.
But Wilfred Rattigan, not only that, where is the Attorney General in all of this? The chief lawyer for Jamaica.
Lost in space.
Where is he in all of this?
Lost in space.
Indeed, and I dare say that this administration is buttressed with another layer of legal legal people. I won't use luminary, legal people. Because now you have the Attorney General office, you also have the Ministry of Justice. And indeed, you have the new office, the new ministry that have just been constituted that Marlene Malahou Fort, the former AG, now occupies. So that in itself really found the government wanting as it relates to, and we have to ask the question, as I asked the other day, is the PM acting on a frolic of his own? As we say in economics term, you're dealing with something, you're talking from the seat of your pants. Is it that what we're seeing coming through, so he's not listening to the legal persons who form part of his administration? Or is it that they are just advising the Prime Minister wrongly and allow him to look bad, as it were? Because while this is somewhat out of the scope, but they all joined up. We saw recently what happened with the appointment of the former Chief of Defense Force Staff, Major General Rocky Meade, when he was appointed as, and it's not that it was suggest that he would be appointed, he was appointed because it was in the paper, he was congratulated, and he was supposed to take up his position. He was supposed to take up his position as cabinet secretary. And people like Light Barnett, the chief constitutional lawyer in Jamaica, in my view, came out and they all said, what was happening here? This was unconstitutional. This breaches the Constitution once again. And it really begs the question, what is happening as it relates to this administration led by Andrew Holness and the Constitution of Jamaica? Something is amiss.
But not only that, gentlemen, the current constitutional minister, she's a former judge, the former Attorney General, the President of the Senate, Thomas Tavares Pinson, is a king counsel, or they don't want to call king whatever counsel. He's an attorney at law. So he sits in the Senate and see all of this going on and says nothing. Come on, Tavares Pinson.
Let me, I found it. Here's the section that Mr. McFarlane referred to. It's in the Constitution, it's section 20, subsection 2. And it states that a proclamation made by the Governor General shall not be effective for the purposes of subsection 1 unless it is declared that the Governor General is satisfied that A, a public emergency has arisen as a result of the imminence of war between Jamaica and a foreign state. That doesn't apply. 2, that action has been taken or is immediately threatened by any person or body of persons of such a nature and on so extensive a scale as to be likely to endanger the public safety or deprive the community or any substantial portion of the community of supplies or services essential to life. The first part is what's applicable, not the second part about supplies or services or public disaster. Now, here's the thing. Here's a question we need to ask. It says that unless it is declared that the Governor General is satisfied. Now, the Governor General is satisfied because he issued it. So the question we have to ask him is, where is the proof? Where is the proof that convinced you and enabled you to be satisfied that a state of public emergency was warranted? He's on the hot seat. He's on the hot seat because this section 20, subsection 2, points directly and only to the Governor General, not the Prime Minister or any other minister. It speaks specifically, it says a proclamation made by the Governor General shall not be effective for the purposes of subsection 1 unless it is declared that the Governor General is satisfied. And then it goes into the 3 things.
Good. And also, we can safely refer to a recent past in Jamaica when that what you just read would have been applicable. And that was when the extradition order was
There you
issued
go.
for Mr. Christopher Dudoscope.
That would be the kind of emergency contemplated by the Constitution.
Indeed. And if you read further, I forgot the section, or I don't have the Constitution in front of me, but it also, and Mr. Mark Farlin mentioned it, it also spoke to the 3 months period where even when you put that in place, the state of emergency is properly in place. It is not supposed to be longer than a 3 months period.
Up to.
Up
So
to
it can
3
be,
months.
yeah, up to. So it can be less than 3 months.
Less than 3 months was up
Yeah.
to.
Yeah.
So a lot of things, we're seeing a lot of things here, and you know, I think, and I think the time has come when we really have to spend some time in assisting, educating the population, and that is why we here and Make We Talk and programs such as Reason with Rattigan, and of course, you know, I want my program and mainstream radio, Straight Up with yours truly, Conrad O'Brien. We bring these issues to the people. As a matter of fact, I'm going to ask our host here, Jeffrey Tavares, to look at I don't know if you listened to the 2 clips that I sent you. I would want you to play the second one, the second clip that I sent you, or the second of the 2 that I sent you, because so you will see the work that I'm doing. That was my editorial piece on Monday. Was it Monday? I think it was Monday, where I tried to put this thing in perspective. If you can find it and play it, I would be happy, so that our viewers and listeners can understand the kind of work that we are putting in order to assist in safeguarding the Jamaican people. It can't be that whenever people like us talk about these things, you refer to us as hypocrites. And that's what the Prime Minister
as
did.
comrades and all kind of stupidness.
Yes, and that's what the Prime Minister did at the JLP headquarters at Belmont Road over the weekend. He referred to the opposition and other people who don't support the continuation of the state of emergency and said, listen, you have regular police apparatus that you can use. As a matter of fact, the chairman, as you alluded to earlier, Mr. Moderator, as you alluded to earlier, he pointed out on Sunday at a funeral of one of his colleagues that we don't need a SOE. He did so again on Monday on my program, and he also did so today elsewhere on radio, where he doubled down or tripled down in this case to say, listen, you don't need a SOE. What you need is what is called proximity policing. And again, our learned friend, Counsel, the rebel, will be able to, you know, give us some further and better particular on what proximity policing means.
Proximity policing.
You find the clip, as that?
Yes, I did.
All right, you want to play it and then we?
Yes.
Bear in mind, emergency has been going on from 2018. Has been supported in the parliament time and time again by the opposition. However, the opposition, PNP, has always been saying, listen, you cannot continue to govern with an SOE in perpetuity.
My God, this thing keep going down.
I don't. I think that's where it's ends, Sir Conrad.
Okay, I think maybe what I should ask it to play is the first one. But
Okay.
go ahead. We can get back to that. We can get back to that if Mr. Rattigan wants to come in now, and then we can get back to that.
Yeah,
Go ahead.
yeah, I found it here in the Constitution where it says that the SOE essentially will remain in force for 14 days. 14 days initially, but not exceeding 3 months, supported by a 2/3 majority of all the members of each house. So
indeed.
yeah, so it doesn't have to be 3 months, it can go up anywhere. But the idea that of proximity policing is simply this. It's that it's similar to community policing. You have to have the police there on a regular basis where they can develop rapport with the community, where they can develop an intelligence base, you know, where they're ever present. You can't have them, you know, you can't have them come in, and when they come in as basically as oppressors, because they come in and they have these unlimited rights to do stuff that under normal conditions they wouldn't be able to do without, you know, certain legal procedures. You know, they can search you, they can do this, they can do that, they can hold you, you know, without charge for a long period. So that kind of policing alienates the police and the community. It develops a chasm. It develops a gulf between them. And that's not the idea of community policing. The idea of community policing is that you have an alliance between the police and the community. You can't have that under an SOE. You cannot. And so they come in, and then you ask yourself, well, what is the purpose of this SOE? And the first thing is this. You tell them you're coming. You said, we have declared a SOE. People hear that, and sometimes in Jamaica, the news travel fast. Sometimes they hear about before it's even declared. So the people that you're going after, they're gone. The weapons are gone, and they go elsewhere. So if you're doing it in St. James, they move to Hanover, they move to St. Anne, they move to St. Elizabeth, and they set up shop. So then the police go in, assisted with the army, and then they say, oh, you know, crime has gone down. This is a very effective, and they call it strategy. It's not a strategy, but they say it's a very effective strategy. Crime has gone down. What they don't realize is crime has gone out. It's not gone down, it's gone out, because guess what? The crime rate for the entire country of Jamaica is the same or higher. It's just that where you went and you dispersed the criminals and criminal activity. And it makes it worse because they go out and they set up satellite shops in Hanover, Westmoreland, St. Anne, St. Elizabeth. And then once you leave St. James, they've already established outposts in these places. So when they go back, they have their lieutenants operating shop for them in those parishes.
And the question must be asked tonight. There was a shooting in Kingston. Isn't some part of King and St. Andrew under SOE?
Yes.
Or it is lifted now?
Yes,
No,
I think.
Go ahead.
I think it's lifted now. But
yeah, but
I don't know.
but you see what happened is this. The SOE.
No, it's not lifted.
Isn't okay.
But SOE.
Before I go into Sir Rattigan, it is not lifted.
No.
And there was there was a murder. Somebody was gunned down in a community.
But several murders have taken place in the parishes and space that you have the SOE going on. So that's basically, you're just referring to one. There has been, as a matter of fact, Mr. Rattigan, right? Mr. Rattigan, the rebel. I love to refer to counsel that way. You know? Counsel, the rebel.
Yes, sir.
He reminded us. He
There is
reminded
something
us.
I want to play. Go ahead.
He reminded us that just during the early space of the SOE in St. James, there were about 6 persons were shot, 2 fatal.
The day after.
The very day after. So,
yeah.
You know, we are seeing where the SOEs, as we remind people that you're in tune to Make We Talk right here, hosted by Jeffrey Tavares and, of course, I am one of the guests here. I am kind of taking over, but I just see fit to remind listeners that you're tuned in to Make We Talk, and this is hosted by Jeffrey Tavares. On set this evening is myself, Conrad O'Brien, and indeed the rebel, Wilfred Rattigan, Rattigan the rebel, attorney at law, former FBI agent who will really basically depend on his expertise in a big way to ventilate a lot of these issues. You just hear we explain what it means by way of proximity policing and so on and so forth. And of course, host Tavares have a clip that he wants to play for us now. Go ahead with that clip, sir.
I want you to listen to this clip. The SOE of 1976 that opposition Senator Damian Crawford present to the House of Representatives or the House of Parliament, whatever. And listen to the exchange
Senate,
between...
presented to the Senate, yes?
To the Senate. Listen to the exchange between the President of the Senate, Thomas Tavares Finson, and Damian Crawford.
Is he your cousin?
Is he your uncle?
Wait, man tongue drop out.
Are you hearing it?
Mum's the word. No.
Oh, hold on.
Is Tom your cousin?
Listen, we're on a live program. Gentlemen, listen to this.
You look like him.
For questioning, 581 persons charged, 101 firearms, and 690 rounds of ammunition recovered. In the first 6 months of 2018, more persons were detained.
Yeah, in your program?
In this report. 2,660
Yes, I'm on the program.
young black men were detained, which only 100 and something were charged. The vast majority were charged with expletives. The use of expletives. It says, further, a large quantity of weapons and ammunition has been found by security forces since the 19th of June, 1976. In the 10.5-month period prior to that date, 255 firearms were found. In the period after that date, 460 firearms and 7,496 rounds of ammunition. The breakdown of firearms found was 136 homemade shotguns, 98 shotguns, 10 sawed-off, 39 pistol, 1 homemade, 179 revolvers, 8 homemade, 7 rifles, and 1 submachine gun, 1976. This is the state of emergency that the government said was the worst state of emergency, should not have been called, and was used for political practice and political gain. I'm going to wrap up here because it's a 17-page document for which I will advise all to read. It says, the successes achieved by the security forces during the period under review owed a great deal to the cooperation of the public. The responses from the citizens had been good. They had given information for which would not have been possible had there been no states of emergency. We have before us the most critiqued state of emergency by the government side. That is
Senator, I don't want to interrupt you.
Please don't.
But in the interest of fairness and honesty, what you are reading from is a policy paper. You need to read the Smith Commission report on the 76th state of emergency. That's what you are to read. That's referred to the 76th. No, that's referred to the state of emergency in 76. That's what you are to read.
Tell me how to vote, how to think, how to read.
I can't tell you that.
You don't involve yourself today. You don't check that from me. Put it in the WhatsApp group. They don't know what to read, they have read nothing. So you go and tell them.
All I can do is tell the people of Jamaica not to
Nothing more,
be
Mr. President,
misled.
with due respect.
You read the Smith
You
Commission,
cannot tell
where
me.
they were assigning blank detention,
Listen, I want to know from you,
and lock
Mr.
up the
President.
friend back to Grange
Listen,
with blank detention form. That you can read.
Mr. President.
First of all, you don't start because you
No.
walk over sticky ground.
If these numbers are untrue, if you're suggesting that a government, which this document is from the government, is willing to be untruthful in the number of guns found, is willing to be untruthful in the number of persons arrested and charged, then why should we feel that you are totally truthful on that side if you're suggesting that this document is not worthy of being read? Why is it that we should think so? But because I wasn't born in 1976, I will move forward to 2018, a period for which I was an adult. In 2018, Mr. President, January 2018, the government put forward that there was a need for a state of emergency. Before that, Mr. President, in May 2010, in advance of the attempts to arrest Christopher Dodoscope, an extradition warrant, a state of emergency was declared by Prime Minister Goldie. Now let us not forget, with all the accusations about who is for and who is not for criminal activity, the greatest defense by a person suspected of criminal engagement was made by the government of the Jamaica Labour Party in 2007. They went as far as to hire lawyers and lobbyists on his behalf. None of them can claim, because the Prime Minister was a senior member of the Jamaica Labour Party, the leader of government business, and a member of the cabinet who made those decisions to defend what the United States referred to as one of the greatest violence producers in the Western. You cannot compete nor compare with me.
The dad son, and that you, Prime Minister, should pack your bags and go, Mr. Chairman.
You know, gentlemen,
Yes.
when you sit and listen to these things that is going on, from 1932 until this blessed day, and from 1962 until this blessed day, the leaders of our country has been breaching the Constitution and the fundamental rights of the Jamaican people for years. And the time has come, Wilfred Rattigan, Conrad O'Brien, that we must take a stand. The time has come. I don't give a damn who, but the time has come for us to speak out for the voiceless Jamaicans. The People's National Party is no better than the Jamaica Labour Party. No better barrel, no better barrel than different heroin or whatever you want to call it.
No, I disagree with you on that. I disagree with you.
You disagree with me? Do you remember in the night? Hold on there. Do you remember the 1990s?
Mm-hmm.
When they take
What
up a
happened?
bunch of street people and fill them in the mud in all parts in St. Elizabeth?
No, they were not thrown in a mud lake. But then again, we have seen infringement that have been taken place by both parties when they form government. So I won't attempt to defend any. But the truth is that, you know, it was very instructive what Mr. Crawford said a while ago. And I agree with you. We have to step up to the plate and assist in defending our fellow Jamaicans, you know, wherever on the totem pole they find themselves, especially those at the bottom of the ladder. We have to do that. It behoves us to do that, you know. And the truth is that a state of emergency used to as a perpetual crime fighting tool, all it does is relegate a group of our people to an irregular lifestyle. Because when you're in state of emergency, you're not subject to enjoy your liberty and your freedom. So it backs you in a corner. And you know,
and the question must be asked, you must ask the question also, Conrad O'Brien and Wilfred Rattigan. Is the Prime Minister of Jamaica decide to have a military state?
You know, I'll come in on that. But yesterday, which dovetail into what I'm saying, yesterday, one of my callers made the point on radio that when you look at the state of emergency, the layout of it, I forgot the police division in St. Andrew, but that police division was exempted from the state of emergency. You know who lives in that police geographical space? The well-to-do. So what it means is
you mean the people of the Vumvavon, the Vumvavi?
Well, there you go, right? So when you look at that, it means that those persons would be able to have their Christmas dinner, invite everybody over, have their parties, etc., etc. But the man, as he said he wasn't even going below halfway. He wasn't going to say below crossroad. He said the man below halfway tree would not be able to enjoy that same right. That is what we call the perpetuation of the 2 or 3 Jamaicans. And it is particularly egregious because we're talking about a prime minister that was born post-independence, and we expect a modicum of difference and some amount of decency in terms of looking at the people's welfare rather than pandering to a group of people called the private sector in Jamaica. I heard Keith Duncan on the top of his lungs up to yesterday asking the Prime Minister to go back and reinstate the state of emergency. And that is to ignore the opposition. That would be a very, very dark day in Jamaica. And to answer your question, that would send the biggest signal of the Andrew Holness-led administration decide to say, listen, we're tinkering on dictatorship and we're tinkering on a military state.
But before I have Wilfred Rattigan come in, this is the country that is calling for a republic with these same people who are breaching the constitution of this land to formulate a new constitution for us. Our corner dark in this country. There is no way we can have these same people doing constitutional reform. For who? For we?
No, well, what happened? The constitutional reform, and that may very well be just what we need. Because in terms of the constitutional reform, that is supposed to be something that should be debated and discussed in the school rooms all across the length and breadth of Jamaica. And we should have a lot of different bodies to include various civil service organizations, human rights group, the Bar Association, etc., way into it. So you'll get a document at the end of the day that would be in the interest of the Jamaican people. It's not just constitutional reform, should not just be something that the government of the day is going to look and say, here, what happened? We're taking this out of the constitution and we're putting in this because this is what suits us and so on. That's not how it goes.
If the government of the day push the needs bill down our throat, what do you think they wouldn't do?
No, but here it is. There was a checks and balance. You see, we have to give the country its due at the same time. You know, there are checks and balances, and we have to give the opposition as well credit where credit is due. The opposition, Wilfred?
I'm listening to you.
Yeah, the opposition at the material time, when the bill was being discussed, right? The NIDS bill, they basically made a case and they stayed in the parliament late hours and say to the government that the way that you were going about doing the thing was too intrusive and breaches a lot of people's rights. And the government went on their merry way and passed the bill with the majority that they have in the House. Because in that case, they did not need that one from the upper house in the Senate. It could pass through with a simple majority. And they had that simple majority in the upper house. They did not need the 2/3, right? The 2/3 majority. However, what the PNP did, the opposition, through its then General Secretary, Mr. Julian Robinson, they took it to the court, and the court ruled it being unconstitutional. They had to go back to the drawing board with Joint Select Committee and so on and come up with a different document. Because remember now that the PNP, the opposition, and other people, to include a number of groups, were fighting against the ID, persons being ID and where we're going. It was based on, again, akin to what we're seeing here with the SOE, how it was done. So we have to be careful, Mr. Tavares, that we don't throw the baby out with the bathwater when we're discussing these matters.
Wilfred Rattigan?
Well, you know, I go back to the section of the Constitution, section 20, section 2, 2B, the section that the government uses to justify. And when I say the government, I mean any government that has ever utilized the SOE. This is a section that they use to justify the existence or the initiation of an SOE. Now I'm reading it and I'm coming up with all kinds of arguments. One of them is that it says here, again, I'll read it, that action has been taken or is immediately threatened by any person or body of persons. One of the things for me right there is, who is this person or who are these people? Identify them. That's the first question I have. Who, you say you want to do you want to do the SOE. Who is it directed against? Is it one person? Is it a group of people? If it's a group of people, if it's that one person, do you know that person? And if it's a group of people, can you identify those people? And it goes on to say, of such a nature and on so extensive a scale as to be likely to endanger the public safety. Likely, what does that mean? The other thing is, this could mean that you could call a state of emergency for a serial killer. Because that's a person, right? That's a person who has taken action of such a nature and so extensive a scale that it is likely, well, in this case, it's not even likely, that it is endangering the public safety. So a serial killer would fit under this mode. And I can think of several other, several categories of people or persons who would fit under this. So this B, to me, it's vague. And if it's vague, in America, they would take it out of the Constitution. They would do a constitutional amendment. I mean, they would throw it up. They say, this is vague. Because people don't understand what you're saying when you say this. Because if they come back and they say, oh, we're doing it, they have to say why. And that's why I'm saying that the Governor General should be made to answer these questions as to. Go ahead.
Good. And if you listen carefully to what your colleague, Council McFarlane said, he basically agreed with what you're saying, that this needs to be tested in the court of law.
And it has been. And that the court ruled against the government. Yeah. So that's why. So first thing is that I would take this apart. I would take 20, section 2, subsection B, I would take this apart because it's vague. It's not clear, right? And if you consider it clear, then you say, okay, so based on this, they could call a state of emergency for one person.
To use the word, a lot of ambiguity.
Ambiguities, right? They could call a state of emergency for one person, right? They could identify a person and say, this, like, let's say one of the, a top criminal, the number one criminal, Duppy Flynn, right? They could have called a state of emergency for Duppy Flynn based on this, right? So this is vague, and the court ruled against it. So now that the court has ruled against it, here's why it's so asinine. The court ruled against it, gave the reasons, and then the Governor General signed off on it again, and again, and again. And nobody can get him to talk as to say, sir, why are you doing this? Why? It's not as if he's displaced. He's removed. It's not like he's living in England.
Well, we know why. We know why.
Well,
we saw the powerful private sector organization of Jamaica on the top of their lungs, calling for this as a tool. They went into communities saying that, listen, they didn't know that people live in such squalor. The people are living in more squalor now, and they don't deal with that. But they can sign off or ask the government, encourage the government to basically carry out state of emergency to stop those same people from go out to basically make a living, to buy piece of chicken back, 1 pound of rice, and so on, for go home, go cook, because that is how a lot of our people are living in Jamaica. And when you have SOEs, sorry, Jeffrey, when you have SOEs that basically curtail the people right, it means that you have to lock up in a liquor place and dead for hungry.
And you know what somebody should have asked them? Here's a question that somebody should have asked them. I should have asked the Governor General. Because the situation is so bad, right, that you have to call a SOE, why don't you call a ZOZO and then bring development to that area? Because SOE won't bring development. SOE will disperse criminals. And once you leave that area, they will return. Why don't you put a ZOZO in there? That's what I would ask him, because a ZOZO has a social development aspect to it, which is the, clear, hold, and build. That would be the build section. Why don't they do that? Help the people then. Help the people.
But
help them.
The private sector organization in Jamaica is a bunch of set of damn hypocrites, And you know why I say? No, there's a bunch of set of damn hypocrites. And who lead it must remember that his family helped to create the squalors in this country.
No, don't go so deep.
I will apologize.
No, don't. Leave
They helped to create some of the squalors in this country.
No, leave.
And that is why some of the people in our country living in areas that they wouldn't go to live.
Yeah, but what happened, Jeffrey? We don't want to bring the program into disrepute. We can speak without going get that pointed. Would you agree with me, Counsel?
I'm sorry, I didn't hear you, my learned brother.
Would you agree with me that we must not be so pointed? We can be a little bit more, Well,
what I was about to say is that Jeffrey looks, he looks very, very, there's a strong resemblance.
Do not go there. We're talking about the SOE. What is going in our country?
So wait a minute. So
no. I will not allow you all to go there.
Hold on.
No. Don't go
my
there.
learned brethren is saying to you that you shouldn't go someplace. I know you're telling me that I shouldn't go someplace.
But he said something to me, and I take his advice. I'm not going to go that way. I apologize to the private organization Jamaica for what I said. But the fact of the matter is,
since you did that, then I'll withdraw my my line of inquiry.
Yes, because you see what happened. What happened? And I understand. I know. I feel your pain. And the truth is that we want to go as deep as possible as we can. But one of the things that we want to do, we want to keep it at a particular level above the surface. We don't want to this, because what happened, although we're on social media, but this is not your regular social media program. This is a serious program.
Indeed.
Mm-hmm.
So it's
Ratty, I want to play the clipping of the Prime Minister's at, is it Belmont Road?
Yes, the HQ of the Jamaica Labour Party.
Right, I want to play it.
please.
Go ahead.
Hold on. What happened to this thing?
Another state of public emergency. That has to be considered carefully. I would say, question has been asked, why not call another state of public emergency? That has to be considered carefully. I would say it is not off the table, but we will consider it very carefully. If circumstances give rise to it, if we see that our resources are stretched, if we see a spike occurring, if action is taken or threatened to be taken, that will substantially create a threat to public order and lives, this government will act to save that.
You know, listening to the Prime Minister there, one begs to ask the question, who's really advising him?
Maybe he's
Well,
advising himself. I don't know.
That's the question, and it is absolutely clear. It's absolutely clear that the Prime Minister is tinkering with him.
Question has been asked,
acting.
why not call?
Sorry.
Yes, is certainly tinkering with this idea in his head, you know. And what it means is that he would take on, by way of his own edict, to say, listen, I am ignoring what the opposition is saying. I have the mandate so I'm just going ahead and do what I want to do. And as I said before, it would be a very, very dangerous thing to do. And to the credit of a number of people here, you know, people like John Clark, a number of persons here in Jamaica, they are warning the Prime Minister about going in that direction. However, you have surrogates such as businessman Kevin O'Brien Chang, who is asking the Prime Minister to go down that route. You also have the PSOJ that is doubling down and asking the Prime Minister to, you know, reimpose the state of emergency. So we will see if the Prime Minister it will be clear if the Prime Minister is going to be taking the advice from a Kevin O'Brien Chang and also from the private sector organization of Jamaica, or will he show the opposition and by extension the people of Jamaica some amount of respect and say, listen, this has been voted down, and not only that, and I guess you will agree with me, Council, here, the fly in the ointment here, the big fly in the ointment here is that the court of Jamaica, the judicial system, is is being undermined based on how the Prime Minister is operating now. When you look at the judgment that was issued, and you know, one would expect that the Prime Minister would have a stay on this until we await whatever appeal would come out at the other end. Am I onto something there, Council?
You're exactly right. You're exactly right, my colleague, learned colleague, because you know, I for the life of me, I can't understand why a court would rule against the initiation of a state of emergency, and then the government would appeal, and while the appeal is pending, they still sign off on the same thing that the court ruled against. I mean, the question, it begs the question: who's advising him? Like Jeffrey just asked, and That's a critical question because has he lost his mind? I'm searching for.
Sorry to cut you right here. As you said that, you know, I want you to look back on this clipping again and look on Prime Minister Androni's face very good.
Yeah.
He does look, he does not look all that cautious to me.
No, you're
Let's
right.
see it again. Let's see it.
Them not look bossy at all.
Sir Clark, you're gonna come in next, but listen to this. Are you hearing it?
The first thing I
No.
would say about the threat that we face,
Yeah.
it is not a threat unique to Jamaica. It is a threat that is right across this region. And that is the threat of enterprises organized around criminal activity. We have been calling them gangs. And our initial understanding of gangs, certainly when I was growing up, was that it was just a group of young men gathered together on the street corner, making trouble. Quite insidious. Not, you know, not necessarily destructive at the national level. But the concept of the gang has now morphed into more than that. What are the gangs doing now? They are trying to control territory. They are literally trying to take over a community, take over an area, to have exclusive control of the citizens who live in there. And they don't even know. The citizens don't even appreciate what is happening. They don't know when they have been pulled into the gang, that when there is an altercation between the security forces and a gang member, the gang member can just pick up the phone and say, you see how wicked the police them is, on the go, they go demonstrate. And people run out there not knowing that they have become instruments of a criminal organization. They set up business in the community and they will pay a few school fees and they send for your son, ask him to go do something here, ask him to do something there, and then watch him, see how he performs.
Oh, God.
Then when the day comes, they say, you reach now. See the gun here? That store downtown, this man go and pick you up and you go and do the job. You see your little innocent son, you don't even know. It's when it comes over the radio now that police shoot your son and kill him in a robbery and you swear blind, not my son. You end up quarreling with the police, but you really should be quarreling with that gang leader in your area.
Jeff, stop it there. Now say something.
Please,
Now say
please,
something.
please.
Now say
I
something.
want to say something to myself.
No, more to say something. No, this now make my blood boil. And I tell you what.
Absolutely.
Yeah. When a politician is going to tell you that this situation, whatever it is, it's not only happening here in Jamaica, but it's happening in America, it's happening here, it's happening in Korea, my blood boils because the issue is here. The issue is not there. Take care of your house first before you start talking about what's going on over there and what's going on over there. Except if you're going to talk about an enterprise, transnational organized crime, and you say, well, then everything is linked, and then you're going to work with those countries. If you're going to do that, then I understand. But if you're just going to mention that, well, it's not only happening here, you're trying to diminish the issue as it is and trying to get people to understand that, well, it's not only here, it's everywhere. Well, we don't care about everywhere. We care about here. This is where we live. And the idea that people live in a community and they get dragged into a gang and they don't know, that's nonsense. That's because you know why? The government has been replaced by organized crime. They have failed to provide the necessaries for people. And somebody stepped into that void and they started taking care of it. He mentioned it, that they pay some school fees and they do this and they do that and do that. Of course, people know that they're being dragged into this. And so whenever the clarion call goes out to say, go demonstrate against the police, they will, because the government has failed them to provide the basic necessities. Service delivery. The gangsters understand that. The government understands it, but you know what? The money gone in a people's pocket and gone overseas. And there's no money left to take care of them poor people there. People have to survive. People have to survive.
You
We
know-
could just start playing. People have to survive.
You-
So this way, I'm just don't talk. Now him get me all riled up. Before I was, mellow. And as I got through with the thing and thing. But when we hear people start talk about, it's not only happening here. I don't give a damn where it's happening. I give a damn that it's happening here. And that's why we elected you. We elected you to take care of the issues here, not to tell us that it's happening elsewhere. We don't want to know about what going on elsewhere. Come in, my brother.
My friend Jeffrey, my friend Wilfred, and I gather Mr. Clark is online. Our lady friend, she's still with us?
No, she's listening. She's listening.
She's listening.
Yeah.
What's her name again? I want to address her by name. What's her name?
Little Wicked.
Little Wicked. My goodness. I love ladies who are little wicked.
Okay, Conrad O'Brien, continue. What are you talking about?
All right. I tell you.
Marcel Clark, where are you, Mr. Clark?
Listen, I tell you this, that when I listened to the Prime Minister a while ago, we could end this live and say, Prime Minister, go fix the problem in the country, because the Prime Minister, based on what he said a while ago, he outlined a case. And if the Prime Minister is seized of all of these that are taking place, the Prime Minister needs to fire his Minister of National Security, the Commissioner of Police, and the head of the Jamaica Defense Force, because they have been found wanting and derelict in their duty. Because the PM just made the case as to what is happening. Why don't you go? Why your team, led by your Minister of National Security, who formulate policies, the Commissioner of Police that carries out operation in collaboration with the Jamaica Defense Force, why are they not doing the intelligence work and pick up these guys? It gets better. The Prime Minister articulate that is just about 300 of these persons we have, and he said, we know them. We know them. My friend, I don't know. This thing gets really, really, really serious. And it is, we have to stop tinkering at the edge and ask some deep, calculated questions. We have to, because if I know, it's just like what happened the other day at Clifton in Portmore, where the Prime Minister took to the Parliament of Jamaica on his feet and made a case that there was a community that was being overrun by Dons. They later called a name of a grouping, a group of a criminal group, as they mention, as they call it. And to date, we have only seen one lady being arrested and charged in all of this. And this lady is said to be the principal of a basic school in the Prime Minister's constituency. What happened to those criminals that were there? If you're doing intelligent policing, and if you have that kind of information as the Prime Minister reach to you, I think that you should have a talk with your Minister of National Security, and in turn, your Minister of National Security have a talk with the Commissioner. And if he wants to bring in the JDF head in there and say, we have information that this is happening in our community called Clifton. Land are sell over there by bad man, by top ranking criminal. Go over there, go buy a piece of the land, no? Y'all have to give them the money, the cash. Give whoever you want, give the cash. Because you know, do not check transaction. Cash money you are deal with. And go and do the work. We are joking in this country, and it begs the question, are we really serious? Are the powers that be really and truly serious about solving this crime situation here, or it's just lip service?
But
Hold on there. Let me just
hold
jump in
on
there.
here. But make I say this, please. Remember what I'm gonna say. The Prime Minister went to the Parliament and said what you just said a while ago. So the question must be asked of the Prime Minister of this country. Is the principal of the school a member of the Klansman gang that he went to Parliament and talk about?
Good question. Very good question.
How he has gone back to the Parliament to say the principal is a part of the Klansman gang? And how is it that the president or the chairman of the sugar company of Jeffrey shut him out, can't talk Wilfred Rattigan?
Well, going back to the point made by the illustrious Conrad O'Brien, think about this, panelists, and welcome, Marcel. Think about this. How many times have you heard about raids or police stopping people, exchanging gunfire, and everybody get away? Everybody get away. Look at what happened at Ian Fleming Airport, right? Over a ton of cocaine. Jamaica doesn't produce cocaine, so it came into the country. And that's one of the planned secure provisions that we're going to secure our borders. Yeah. And more than a ton. And don't forget that the plane landed. I'm wondering if the plane that landed, if there was cocaine on board that aircraft, and the cocaine that they found in Baskerville, if that's part of the cargo that was on that aircraft.
I wonder if our friend can find that song, The Plane Land.
you know.
So it's like, you know, I agree with you that we should be in a regular democratic society. The prime minister would have removed these people that you just identified. He would have removed and replaced them. Instead, he's kept them on, and so
and said he's confident in them.
Yeah. Him not said that recently. Not recently him said that. Before him said that. But when he hasn't said it since the 92 and 93% disapproval rating come out. He hasn't said that. But before that, he was saying that. Even though we knew unofficially that it was 92, 93. But when it was made official, him keep him on.
We want to be precise. Yes. 91 for the commissioner and 93 for the minister. Disapproval rated.
Right. And I'll tell you something that's unofficial, but truth be told, if it's done in an official manner, it will be higher. I was told that if you really want to see how what the true disapproval rate is, you should go to the ministry where these people serve, Ministry of National Security, and you should do a poll of the police, for example, of the police commissioner. And I was told that that poll would reflect somewhere in the vicinity between 98 and 99%. Right?
But gentlemen, the question must be asked, though, you know, in which modern democracy can a ton of cocaine come into the country? You hear nothing from the Minister of National Security and Justice. You hear nothing from the no Commissioner of Police. You hear in all this press conference, you hear nothing from the Prime Minister of the country. So tell me something. Where are we living? Are we living in a banana republic? Is Jamaica becoming a banana republic? I think of how much cocaine came in the country. In all his press conference, and I'm going to go back and check, I don't hear the Commissioner of Police address it. I don't hear the Minister of National Security address it. I don't hear the Prime Minister address it. Nothing.
Wonder if we can call on Fitz Bailey to give us the update.
He made the initial comments or statements about the seizure, and that was it. Similarly, he gave a statement about the plane that crash landed.
That's Deputy Commissioner
Yes.
Fitz Bailey.
Yeah. And I'm being told that at the high command level that there's dissension in the ranks, that they have no faith and no confidence, just like the American people, in the leader, the police commissioner. I just hope, wish, pray, and I beg and beseech them to go to the Prime Minister and or the Governor General to express their disapproval and say, look, we need this man to be replaced. Because to me, they are the real hypocrites. Because now they're toying with the lives of Jamaica. This is not some rinky-dinky ministry. You know what I mean? In this ministry, when you fail in this ministry, people die.
I have a clip. Wow, I didn't send that clip to. I don't know if Jeffrey has it. This clip, I would be instructive for you to play the clip of the chairman. You have that clip that the chairman spoke to the. Yes, you have that clip.
I think I do have the clip.
We play that because we want the people to hear what is happening. As soon as Mr. Tavares is trying to bring that clip up.
We can have the great grandson of Paul Bogle who's going to help lead the rebellion.
Hello, good night, everybody. Who was Mr. Jeffrey Tavares?
We continue talking.
Fellow panelists, the fireman, so O'Brien, and the troublemaker.
Rattigan.
Yeah, man, the troublemaker Rattigan, the most hated man in Jamaica. Thanks for having me, guys.
Qualified by some people because he's so loved by many.
That is true, but you know them said big paintbrush, it carry the majority. But I know I love him as a person.
Hold on for me. News just coming in. Taxi operators planning another strike action for Thursday, December 1st and Friday, December 2nd. That's news just coming in. Bus and taxi operators are planning a stick out.
That is massive. And indeed, let's just spend a second or two on that. Remember that when they went out the first time, it was reported that the Jamaican economy suffered about a 50% decline in its productive capacity, and on the first day and on the second day, 25% decline. And one would like to hazard a guess that this time around it could be more organized. Know that they have seen where the government is doubling down and not acceding to their request in extending the time for them to pay the bill. So this is big. This is a big one. And as my colleague just reported, breaking news coming in. The taxi and bus operators, they are indeed planning announced that there will be a strike action tomorrow. That's tomorrow, Thursday?
Yes, it's for 4:30 Thursday morning, 4:30 a.m. Thursday morning. My advice to them, I would not have taken this position at this time. It's not a strike, it's a withdrawal of service. They're asking them to stay home. But my advice to them would have been to outweigh the government, because I think the government—
Hold on for me. Sorry to cut you, Sir Clark. Can you get the communication director of the One Voice group online for me?
Let me make some attempts. I'll be right.
Please, because I would love to speak to him right now. This is a really big news that is coming into us, Conrad O'Brien.
Indeed it is breaking news, and one must understand that the public transportation operator really play a major role right here in Jamaica economy, because we don't have a national government-owned transport system. So we talk about private operators, and they can literally cripple the entire economy. As I outlined earlier, that we got official report that there was a 50% decline in the productive capacity of Jamaica, and on the first day rather, and on the second day there was a 25% when they had that withdrawal rather of their service earlier. When was it? Earlier this month? Was it
Yes.
earlier this month? Yes,
Yes.
earlier this month. Would be good
About
if we
3-4 weeks ago.
Yes, we have. It would be good if we could get through to Mr. Edgerton Newman. Or well, you have the one. We're trying to get someone from a One
From
Voice.
the One Voice group, yes.
Yes,
Because
indeed.
Because if this is so, the government of the day and the Minister of Transport, what is going to happen come Thursday and Friday? The country is going to be in chaos.
And you know, those of our listeners here, you know, both who may be listening in Jamaica and those persons who are listening outside of Jamaica, listening and viewing outside of Jamaica, it would be very instructive for you to touch base with relatives and friends and so on to let them know that this is the plan that's on the agenda from the taxi and bus operator tomorrow. We don't know how wide a participation it would be. However, this is what is coming through, that they are planning a withdrawal of their service starting tomorrow, and it's expected to continue for 2 days. We just get that hot off the press.
And wherever you're listening and watching from around the world in the Eastern Caribbean, and Jam Talk Vibes Radio, also on the Make We Talk Jeffrey Tavares YouTube channel, we are getting news that the transport sector will be on strike as of tomorrow, a withdrawal of service. Then the question must be asked: is the Minister of Transport going to meet with them? I'm going to try and get the communication director of the One Voice
Jeffrey,
group. Yes.
Jeffrey, you'll be joining us momentarily.
Yes, I know
so
he's coming in now. He's coming in
All
now.
right. I'm trying to get somebody else to come on too. I haven't got the confirmation yet.
Yes. Mr. Finnegan, welcome to the Make We Talk program. I am being told that they're going to be a strike action as of tomorrow, sir.
Good night, Sir Jeffrey and Sir Clark. Am I on?
Yes, you're on. You're live on Jam Vibes Radio, internet radio, and also the Make We Talk Jeffrey Tavares YouTube channel. You have Wilfred Rattigan, former FBI agent, and Conrad O'Brien from News Talk 93 FM. Go ahead.
All right, good night, Sir Brian. Sir Rattigan, I still remember that I need to make an appointment with you to discuss human rights and constitution of Jamaica. But to answer Mr. Tavares' question, we're not having a strike tomorrow. The One Voice Transportation Group is asking our members to stay home tomorrow. And the reason why we have asking them to stay home is because of 2 reasons. One is we have sent a letter to government through the Minister of Transportation from last week, 2 Mondays ago, asking them to look at a payment plan proposal for us.
Right.
What happened is that we acknowledge that we owe the government in regards to traffic offenses that we may have incurred directly or indirectly.
Right.
And so our members acknowledge that, and we are willing to pay. Yes. The problem is that we don't have the money to pay one time. Coming out of COVID is a factor, and 2 is I haven't gotten a fare increase for a couple of years, and all the other factors that are affecting us in the industry. But we want to pay. So we have been saying to government over the last 6 to 7 months that give us a payment plan. And in that payment plan, please don't take away
Mr. Finnegan? We're losing Mr. Finnegan. I think he's traveling or the internet system is going down. Mr. Finnegan.
License because of the demerit point.
Hold on, Mr. Finnegan.
And in
Mr.
that
Finnegan,
payment, I'm here.
Yeah, but you break up a while ago. Can you repeat what you were saying, please? About the license and so forth.
We lost you at the point when they said, don't take away our vehicle or our license. That's when we lost you.
Can you send me Mr. Finnegan number, please, that I call him? We are having the communication director of the One Voice group, the Reverend Finnegan, speaking to us about the withdrawal of service by the taxi men and women of the One Voice group come tomorrow, Thursday, December 1st, because they have been asking for a payment plan from the government. They have written to the government of Jamaica, and they don't have the decency to answer the people. And the Minister of Transportation not even answer the people either. Conrad O'Brien?
Indeed, Jeffrey, and it is Mr. Finnegan, worded. I know the carefulness of his wording. He said that they won't be having a strike. What they're asking for is for their member to stay home. But in truth and in fact, it's basically splitting air. It's a thin line there. Because if you stay home, it simply means that you are basically withdrawing your service because you can't be at home and your vehicle is on the road because your vehicle is not divested of you. The question that I want to ask Mr. Finnegan is how widespread. Mr. Finnegan?
I'm hearing you clearly.
Yes, Mr. Finnegan. I was saying just now that I note your word, you state your word very, very careful there, where you said it's not a strike. What you're asking is for members or operators to stay home. No, there's a very thin line there as it relates to strike and staying home. One could say tantamount to the same thing. However, how widespread do you expect a success do you expect to achieve from this? And the One Voice group, is it spread across the length and breadth of Jamaica, or is it specific to a geographical space?
All right, One Voice is spread right across the 14 parishes. We have very active membership, people responding to us in 7 parishes. There are another 3 parishes where, in my estimate, we have a 35 to 40% support from the general transportation sector. But there are 3 parishes that we have membership in, but we do not have that strong support on the ground. To answer the question a little clearer, when we start this movement, this organization, we set up zone personnel in every parish. So in every parish, we have zone managers, zone coordinators, and zone supervisors. But we do not have that strong support in all the parishes as we have in 7 parishes. Over the last 10 days, we have engaged in what we consider to be a consultation process. Meaning
Wow, having a little connection problem there with Mr. Finnegan, indeed.
We from the executive.
Conrad, continue talking. I'm going to see if I can get him.
Yes, we're having a little bit of connection problem there with Mr. Finnegan. Wilfred?
Mr. Finnegan,
yeah.
I'm going to call you. I'm going to call because we're not hearing you clearly. I'm going to call you from a number. When you see a number come up, you answer the phone for me, please.
All right, so Jeffrey. Conrad,
continue.
Indeed. As I said before, this is very, very troubling at this moment. It's exactly 9 o'clock right here in Jamaica. We're getting this breaking information off the desk. We have Mr. Finnegan, who is giving us some information, and he's saying that about 7 parishes, they have a lot of support on the ground. He's saying another 3, they have about a 30 to 40% support, but also 3 other parishes are, while they have support there, but they don't have that massive support on the ground. I want to put to you, Mr. Finnegan, group like such as the one that Mr. Edgerton Newman is connected to, are they on board with what with this latest action? Not hearing Mr. Finnegan.
Unmute your mic, Mr. Finnegan. Unmute your mic.
All right, so we're awaiting Mr. Finnegan.
Mr.
I'd
Finnegan,
love to
unmute your
hear.
mic.
I'd love to hear Wilfred on this. You know, Wilfred.
Yes, I'm here.
I'd like to hear it. This is what happened, you know, when you have a program like this, dynamic, because it's a running program. So although we're discussing, we started out with constitutional issue, which again, everything dovetail, because we're talking about persons advocating for some amount of assistance and asking for the government to pay them some attention. The government seems to be doubling down and not responding to them. So the taxi operators and indeed the bus operators, they decide they will be flexing their muscle starting tomorrow. And we gather that this will start about 4 a.m. tomorrow morning, the 1st of December, 2022. What a way to start the month that we will be celebrating the Christmas holiday. So once again, we could have massive impact and schools tomorrow, because a lot of our school children, they travel on the public transportation, the taxis and the minibuses. Because remember that while we have a transportation system in Jamaica, the Metropolitan, the JUTC, right? That's the Metropolitan Transport Association. Am I correct there? Whatever it is. But the JUTC, they are limited. They are restricted to section of the corporate area, and they don't cover every communities within the corporate area. So even there, that the JUTC is, there will be problem. And then you go into the second city in Montego Bay, they have a small government operated system. So all in all, we are in for major problem tomorrow if this holds with the taxi operators. It will impact commerce, it will impact the education sector, it will impact generally all sectors across Jamaica. Mr. Rattigan.
Yeah, the question I'd like to ask Mr. Finnegan is this: they don't call it a strike, but as you said, Conrad, essentially it is a strike. But I guess the technical reason why it's not a strike is because it's not a government-owned entity. And so it's privately owned, and they can decide that they're not going to put their cars on there, their vehicles on the road. So he's in there, they're not going to provide service as opposed versus a strike. Okay. Now, several weeks ago, they did the same thing. And I think they did it for, and correct me if I'm wrong, I think they did it for maybe 2 days.
Yes.
And they did it for 2 days, and everything was disrupted. As you said, 50% the first day, 25% the following day. And now they're planning to do it tomorrow. I would like to ask Mr. Finnegan, given the fact that this was done weeks ago for 2 days, and the government came out flexing its muscles, saying that they're not going to, you know, kowtow to that type of behavior. Right. And now they're doing it. What's the strategy? Why didn't they continue doing it back then when they started? Why did they stop after 2 days? And why are they starting tomorrow?
Mr. Finnegan, unmute your mic.
And if they start tomorrow, when will it end?
Mr. Finnegan, unmute your mic, Mr. Finnegan. Unmute your mic, I'm not hearing you. Unmute your mic. There you go.
Yeah, all right. Let me respond to the question. Why we stopped last week. And I get a beating from our membership for calling off the withdrawal last week, Tuesday. Now, the private sector, the 3 most powerful sectors in Jamaica came out Monday evening. The Private Sector Organization of Jamaica, Jamaica Manufacturers Association, and the Jamaica Chambers of Commerce. They came out with a joint statement about 4:35 p.m. asking the government of Jamaica to meet with the public transportation sector to iron out the problem that we were having. We get a release from the office of the Prime Minister that says that there will be a press conference at 8:30 a.m. on Tuesday to address the matter. 7 a.m. on Tuesday, I personally got a call to say the press conference is moved from 8:30 a.m. to 1 p.m. because it clashed with an itinerary on the itinerary of the Minister of Transportation. But then at 8:30, one of my executives called me to say, Mr. Finnegan, get on the television. The press conference is on. And when I got on my phone and bring up TVJ, on the screen of TVJ mark, public transportation, taxi and bus operator. But the presenters, including the Prime Minister and the Commissioner of Police, was declaring a state of emergency under the Public Disorder Act. So I found that strange, and I called the other groups that were invited to the meeting. And all they could say to me, Mr. Finnegan, we meet at 12 for a pre-meeting to prepare to go to the minister. Now, to answer the question why we didn't continue on Tuesday, out of what comes out of the meeting, somewhere about 2 p.m., I got up in the meeting and I told the Minister of Transportation, thanks for accommodating us. And I said to him that based on the instruction he gave us to prepare a letter in the form of a proposal to give to him by 3 p.m. on Wednesday, removing amnesty from it and use the word payment plan. And other discussion, I said to the minister, when I go through the door of his office, I will call off the withdrawal of service based on the discussion. But I can't guarantee him that all the members would go back to work on the basis that we were told by the police in my presence that there's 140 bikes. Warrants were being prepared. And so there was fear among the operators. But I will call off the withdrawal of service. So it was on that basis, members of the panel, that we end that withdrawal of service somewhere about 3 p.m. on Tuesday. And when I call it off, I said to the members, those of you that feel comfortable in working, please go back to work. If you are afraid of being arrested because of the threat that was made by the director of the Island Traffic Authority, please stay off the road.
That's Mr. Air.
Yes. So when we prepared the letter on Wednesday, it took us 4 hours to prepare the letter because we go through it in details. We oppose, we disagree, and we agree. And we put in not only what we requesting of government, but we also put in what we were prepared to do. Send off the letter in an email.
Electronically, yes.
Yes, and then 2 members of the organization dropped off the hard copy directly. Now, we have not gotten any official word from government to this day.
To date?
And to date, no official word.
My goodness.
So our members wanted to get this withdrawal of service from as far back as Friday last week, then Monday of this week. And I said to them that I'm a part of a committee that was set up based on the instruction of the minister. So I could not support a withdrawal of service until the committee met. The committee met today at 12 midday. 5 minutes in the meeting, I withdraw myself from the meeting and I delete myself from the committee platform. I went into the meeting and I asked 2 questions. Is there a response from the minister? The answer is no. What is the way forward? It takes a process. Let us give them some time. Let us wait. I was sitting down and I stood up and I said, gentlemen, while we are waiting on the government of Jamaica, our members are in fear. The fear has become crippling effect on them. It is this bad. And I explained to them, and I'm telling you what I said in the meeting before I left. There are 102 drivers that has not touched back the road since the 14th of November. We have a driver that is now selling jelly in Portmore. One is selling food in the market. 7 is driving commercial truck. There is another set, we don't have the full number, that are now in construction. And there are 3 investors' cars that for sale is on them. And these are just what information we have. There are more drivers out there that have not gone back to work. There are 2 members of the Jamaica Defense Force that we know personally that have cars on the road. Yesterday and today, they were driving the cars themselves. The drivers part them. I had a meeting right up until 10:30 in Old Harbour and Monday night with the bus drivers. One of them driving for 15 years. He cut his driver's license into pieces and gone to mechanic. He said he will never touch back the road. We have an investor in Kingston. He has a serious medical problem. And one of his drivers parked the bus on Monday and said he's leaving the island. He's not staying here to be arrested and spend Christmas in jail. Now that sick investor have to be driving that bus yesterday and today. So I pointed out to the meeting and I said to them, while we're sitting here, taking a decision to wait on the government indefinitely, I will not be a part of it because our members who we claims that we represent are out there suffering in fear, 1. And 2 is those that decide to try to come out because they have to make some money is playing what we call in Jamaica a cat and mouse game with them and the police. And I said to them in several messages yesterday and today, the cat and mouse game will only work for a while. Sooner than later, the cat will come out in numbers that you will not be able to get away from them. I'll finish answering this question by saying, there is a prominent leader in the sector that for 5 days has been running some advertisement and some press releases. Please go and get your printout. Go to the court and pay your ticket. We are waiting patiently on the government. Now, I'll send you, Mr. Jeffrey, a picture of the traffic court today. Hundreds of people were there. And when you go in, when you get your printout, 102,000 is the number of fine. When you get before the judge, it double, 204,000. You pay the 102. You pay the 102,000 that you go to court with. Then you are taken into custody and your license is taken away. Members of the panel, I sat in a meeting with the director.
What is he saying?
I sat in a meeting with the director of the Island Traffic Authority on the 15th of November. And myself, 3 other investors asked this question repeatedly. Mr. Year, our fear is losing our license. We are willing to pay. His response, go and pay your ticket. We will deal with the demerit points. Another investor asked the same question. He gave the same answer. 3 directors asked the same question repeatedly. We are willing to pay. We are afraid of losing our license. He repeated himself. Go and pay your ticket. Leave the demerit points to us. The report we have been getting yesterday and today is that once the demerit points exceed 14, the judge are taking the license. But we have a leader in the sector up to 6:35 this evening, encouraging our operators and investors, because we have investor drivers. People believe that all the drivers out here are just ordinary taxi men. But at 6:35, he was still sending out messages. Go and pay your ticket. And if you see the crowd at the traffic court today, people going out there to pay members of the panel, not knowing that once you're going there, you're going to lose your license.
So that information that is being put out there by this senior member of the sector, who I believe we know who that person is.
Edgerton Newman, who the Labour Party paying? You want me to talk this evening? Let me talk.
One second, Jeffrey. Mr. Finnegan.
Yeah.
Mr. Finnegan, I want to ask
Listen.
you a question. I don't know if you choose if you would want to answer it. But who are the two from the steering committee, the two persons that was designated to drop off the letters physically? Who are they?
No, there was no specific person designated. But if you have information that the letter was not dropped off, I can guarantee you it was. And I can also guarantee you that it was taken to cabinet. I cannot guarantee you if it was discussed, deliberate, or even looked at. But I can guarantee you, I am a signature to it. I sign on behalf of One Voice. It is 3 organizations that sign it. One Voice, TADS, and Jatu.
No, the question I'm asking, you know.
Yes.
Are you really saying that you are sure 100% that the physical copies got to the minister?
Yes,
Can
I'm
you
sure.
guarantee that?
Yeah, I'm sure. I'm guaranteed.
Okay, because there's something missing out of the equation somewhere.
If you tell me what you think is missing, I can help you to put it in back.
Because I just don't understand. I mean, they can always say they don't get an email or they don't see it. You understand me? But I can't understand for the life of me why the minister did not respond by saying, listen, I received the letter. It's before cabinet is being discussed. We're working out some, you know, some arrangements or whatever. Nothing.
Mr. Clark, hold on a minute. You know, and I know, and Mr. Finnegan know that the person who going around parading on media platforms, he has a direct number to the minister.
No, we know that.
So if the minister did not get it, he would have known.
No, but I'm wondering if it's intentional. They're saying that they didn't get it.
But in addition to that, in addition to that, my friends, Mr. Clark, you asked an interesting question there, and Mr. Finnegan, you're quite a forthright and a man who decided to stand up for your colleague. The truth is that we treat small investors or investors within a particular group a particular way. The private sector of organization of Jamaica, the Manufacturer and Exporters Association of Jamaica, the Chamber of Commerce here in Jamaica would never, and mark my word, underline it, would never send a letter, whether by email or more so to hand deliver a letter to a minister of government and don't get a reply. What happened? It is the two Jamaica that we're seeing being perpetuated. Small, blackhead, poor people in a taxi business and bus business. The government not to talk to, no? When the government will speak is when you flex your muscle. When the government will speak is when they come out the following day and said that, listen, based on the withdrawal of the transport operator, we saw 50% decline in the productive capacity of the economy. That is when they will speak to you. So you guys have a lever. And it is sad that we'll have persons who want to go about their business, but in every cases, people use what is available to them. If it's a teacher, if it's the teachers, and they are being treated with disrespect, then they react. If it is a civil servant, they react. And we could go on and on. So while the taxi operators or the transport operators, you have some power in your hands. And I guess that is the lever that Mr. Finnegan is saying to us, that the operators and owners will basically push that lever tomorrow. So it's going to be interesting what will come out overnight into tomorrow morning from the government of Jamaica.
Members of the panel. Members of the panel.
Yes, Jed.
The letter that we sent, that was delivered last week, Wednesday. That is the fifth letter to the government, you know.
Really?
I walked with a letter from Oxford Road, myself and President Newman, all the way in the sun to the Ministry of National Security. We delivered that letter. The following day, we walked from Halfway Tree up Constant Spring Road to Eastwood Park Road to the Minister of Justice. We deliver that letter ourselves. We deliver the letter to the Minister of Transportation ourselves. The letter that went to the Prime Minister, I was not involved in that delivery. And the only time we got response after the delivery of those 4 letters was when we have the withdrawal of service on the 14th of November. Subsequently to that withdrawal, we prepare another letter, delivered before 3 p.m. on the 16th of November, 2022. And to date, we have not gotten any response.
Sir Finnegan, I think
minute.
you need to correct a part of your statement.
Yes.
You said you issued a letter recently to the minister. You should correctly say as per the instruction of the minister.
Well, that's correct.
You gave that instruction.
Before we go any further,
Mr. Finnegan.
Before we go any further, hold on, Ratty. Before we go any further, are you talking about letter Conrad O'Brien? Diane Dennis, who is the General Secretary of TADS, the Transport and Development Sustainable Services, she and President Egerton Newman hand deliver a letter to the Minister of National Security, who is the Deputy Prime Minister, from Wapi till Philip, and until now, no response. This is what is going on in this country. Politician has no respect nor no regard for the people of this country. And we must call a spade and call out the truth.
No, but that's exactly what I'm saying. I enumerate the point, and Mr. Rattigan, I want to hear you come in on it. I enumerate the point that this would never be the approach to the private sector of Jamaica. It would never be the approach to the Manufacturers Association or to the Chamber of Commerce. Would you agree with me? And that, Mr. Finnegan, you understand what happened here in Jamaica. Do you agree with my statement?
100%. And I've been repeatedly saying, even in the meeting today before I stepped out, that when the other sectors have problem in getting their money that they deserve, that they sign contract with, for, that they work for, they have to go around bargaining table. The union have to represent them. Then it goes to the tribunal dispute. And then in a number of cases, they have to take the government to court. Now, I cannot understand. When I was 14 as a gentleman, a group of us at school at the time keep a clique together. And wherever in the world they go, I have never left Jamaica. But every time they come back, we meet. And since we have telephone now and WhatsApp, we follow history across the world with government. And we have a discussion over the last 4 or 5 years on a monthly basis. And every time the discussion come up, one of the topic is, we are expecting a better Jamaica on the simple basis that is the first we have a prime minister that is born in our era, born after independence, and should be moving this country away from the old colonialism type of behavioral pattern and law and structure.
It was.
We believe in this prime minister. When he was named the leader of the Jamaica Labour Party. Now he let us down. And I said in a meeting with my executive yesterday that we have to understand that even though we expect this from the prime minister, born after independence, he is still being advised, still being circled around by the whole colonial masters. The justice minister say he will prefer to build a place up part camp with no top on it to put the drivers rather than give them an amnesty. And I said to them, if we hold the brake, the economy cannot move. If we catch the wheel, the economy cannot move. If we tear off the gas pedal, the economy cannot move. And who is advising the prime minister that he doesn't realize that the wheel of the economy is dependent on the public transportation sector, which the government bus service cannot manage, cannot handle. And based on the information before us, based on our investigation, we are not seeing where it will ever happen within the next 15, 20 years.
Mr. I have a couple of, Mr. Rattigan here, I have a couple of questions to ask you. Your organization, is it One Voice?
One Voice.
Okay. That in and of itself is one of the reasons why you're having the problems you're experiencing. I mean, Mr. O'Brien mentioned that he mentioned the melanin of the people involved in this impasse with the government, and you know, take it at face value that may very well be the case, but the transport industry, the way it's fractured, it sounds like your organization should be called One of the Voice them, because you have other voices, and I suspect that there might be a little bit of divide and conquer going on. So with the other industries, what you have is you have an amalgamation of ideas, you have a unity of purpose, and so when they say we're going to do something, they all do it, and then the government has to respond to them. But I take it that in your case, you have one set of the public transportation sector, you know, wanting to do, yeah?
Mr. Rattigan,
yes,
I appreciate the point you're making, but trust me on this. While what you're saying in our real world makes sense, make a lot of sense, and one would say this is how it happened, but wrapped up and enveloped and packaged in this is the scant regard that government pay to a particular group of people within the Jamaican structure. That is how it is.
Yeah, but what we have to do is, no, I agree with you, but what we have to do is, I'm sorry to interrupt. Go ahead, please. Yeah, I'm sorry.
No, people respond. You see, it's like I will show you something, and just understand a point I'm making here. A man have dogs, right? You have some mongrel dogs at home, and you really kind of not even pay them no mind because them run out the road and go eat whatever them have. You have a dog that is described that is called a pedigree dog. You understand? It's called a pedigree. And what you do, you spend the last dollar and ensure that you buy bagged food or you cook some food for him. You're not allowing him to go there. And that is how a lot of the people of a certain group in Jamaica is treated. Mongrel, as against who is said to be pedigree. But the real fact is that the people who are treated as mongrel. They are the pedigree because they are the full breed.
So
all
O'Brien,
right. So,
O'Brien, one second,
but-
Ratty, one second. And I'm gonna sort of open both of your eyes to something. I understand what you're saying, Mr. Rattigan, about the one voice, and then you have other voices on the outside. The truth of the matter is the transportation sector will not come under one voice based on few reasons. Those original transport groups or leaders are enjoying fringe benefits from whatever minister is in the chair at the time.
divide and conquer. Divide and
Exactly.
conquer.
That's what they're doing.
Exactly.
And if you look at, if you remember some years ago, I think there was a president or whatever the person was of the Nurses Association. She charged fire upon the government.
Edith Arnold Anderson, when she said she had the tapes.
Yeah, and then one thing they did, bought her a brand new Prada and the argument done. Okay? Remember that? You don't remember that case?
No,
It was a couple years ago.
Brand new product.
I know. I don't remember that. I
know about it.
I don't remember. I know Edith well, and Edith died a few the other day, and Edith showed through fire up until when she was.
Well, maybe
on
not
her
that
sick bed.
that lady, but I don't remember the lady name though. But she was.
I agree with you, Brian.
It wasn't Edith. It wasn't Edith.
I don't. It can be Edith.
It's some years
can't
ago,
be-
man. It's a couple years.
It can't be she, man.
Maybe about 10 years
It's
ago.
not Edith, man.
Yeah, but
That's the
about
one-
that time, that time, Edith was the president. Edith was the president at
If
about
you
that time.
remember, go back and look at the federation chairmen to the police. Anytime them start talk tough, they either promote them or try poison.
Well, this is one police federation chairman.
We saw that
Hold on there.
happen with one the other day where
There's one police federation chairman
Ron
that they
James.
can never conquer and will never conquer. And it's
Mr. James.
Ron James.
Let me finish my point. The difference with Mr. Finnegan and the One Voice group, they cannot be bought.
Mm-hmm.
They operate at a different integrity level. They genuinely have the concern of the sector. All I always push up them head is only for the lies so they can get for sell, the kickback, and the spotlight. That's all it is. Nothing else. They have no interest of whatsoever for the sector. None.
That's why I was saying that the point I was making is that if you look at the business entities, right, the business organizations, they're united, and also they provide support to these politicians come election time. They support them. Now, these poor taxi drivers and their organization, they can't afford to put up the big bucks to do all of that. And so they're treated differently. And then within the taxi organization, you have the divide and conquer. They give fringe benefits to some, not to others. And then therein lies the fracture. But Mr. Finnegan, I have to ask you this.
Yes.
No, you're gonna withdraw services tomorrow. What's the forecast in terms of a resumption of service? What do you want before you say, okay, we're gonna go back and provide services?
We are trying to help ourselves in this, you see, and helping the government. And let me explain. We are trying to help ourselves by saving our drivers and investor drivers their driver's license. Because if they lose it, we will be having in excess of 70% of the investors' vehicle will be parked. How we are helping the government is to keep the economy going. We are the public transportation sector, as much as the problem that are in it will be up and running, because at least we'll have expecting to happen is that good sense will prevail and the government call us to the table. However, if that should happen, I will not, and I repeat, I will not, or we will not withdraw our service, or at least go back to work without the government meet us full way or halfway. I said to my members that our requests going before a bargaining table we might not get everything that we required, but at least two things we must come out with: the payment plan and not losing the license.
Okay, now if the government says to you, Mr. Finnegan, and your organization, that listen, resume services before we can talk, is that unattractive?
No, not going to happen this time. We did it last week.
Okay, so what you're saying is that service will not be resumed until after you have an agreement with the government.
That's correct.
So while you sit at the table, no services.
No.
Okay.
But in addition to that, let's say the government play hardball and decide that they're not going to assist us none at all. The thing that will happen without we withdrawing our service is that we have already been close to 200 investors and operators out of the system. Those that don't come back to work, those that gone into different business, and those that are now exiting based on the number of outstanding tickets they have. So when we end this withdrawal of service and there is no amicable solution, there are the rest of operators that are either going to be taken out of the service by either being arrested and locked up, or two, going to pay their ticket and lose their license because they won't be able to drive, or three, they take away themselves. So whether the government respond to us or not, the sector is going to go down. It is going to go down because what is happening presently as we speak, licenses are being taken away. Okay, persons that don't have the full payment are being put in jail.
Oh, all right, but look, you're one of the voices. If the other voices decide that they're not going to follow lockstep with you, and they're going to provide the service, and you've suspended services because you're waiting for the government to come to you. What do you do in that case? If there's a rip, there's a fracture, there's a chasm, and the other voices decide that they're going to fill the void created by you, by your absence?
Well, let me answer this question and then answer it. What are they going to use to fill the void? Because remember now, the other voices, their members are facing the same thing that my members are facing. One. Two is an investor that subscribe to another group, a female. She has sent out several messages within a 20-25 minutes spaces this afternoon. And all of the messages she's saying that she is not sending out our drivers because our drivers saw what happened in court yesterday and today, and they are afraid. Remember now, they do not subscribe to one voice. They subscribe to another platform. But they are feeling the same thing that we are feeling. It is public.
May I jump in for a second?
Hold on.
No, 1 second. It is the public transportation sector, the commercial transportation sector, and the private transportation sector. So the other voices that is sending out these beautiful press releases that they don't support the strike and they are not a part of it, they have no interest. I stood in the meeting today and I said to them, when you leave here, go.
We're losing Mr. Finnegan. Mr. Finnegan?
To Crossroad. At the crippling fear. Yeah, I'm here.
Yeah, repeat what you're saying. We lost there a while ago.
Yeah, I said to the members of the meeting before I left today, go to Crossroad, go to Halfway Tree, go to downtown Kingston, spend 5 minutes and look at the crippling fear in the voice, in the action, in the behavior of our members. And then you may be able to appreciate much better that while we are waiting on government, they are out there in fear. It is as bad as this member of the panel. If the ambulance is coming without drivers looking to see that is ambulance, they take every lane and shortcut they can find to go and hide. Because the fear tell them, say, it's police, radio car. The police where the car is coming and
you
going
know
about
something?
it.
You know
Yes.
something, Mr. Finnegan? And Conrad O'Brien, if my memory serves me correctly, the tickets that they want these people to pay was orchestrated by a former world-class finance minister who went to parliament in the 1990s because he wanted something to top up the budget for the IMF people.
2006.
There you go.
And it should have ended 2007 February.
No.
Not until the judge. Yeah, man, it was to end February 2007.
Hold on there. No. I am talking about in the 1990s.
Okay.
When a world-class minister of finance went to parliament. Diane Dennis gave me the whole episode last night or a couple nights ago. And it was unconstitutional. He went to parliament because he wanted to top up something for the IMF. And they pick on the poor paupers in bus and taxi drivers. And nothing has come out of it. A man went to court.
Hold on. Nobody know what you're talking about. So explain what we're talking about. What are you saying?
Omar Davis. Omar Davis went to parliament back in the days. He put a price, I think it was a price or something pertaining to tickets. All right. He, as the Minister of Finance, went and did it. It was not anything in law. That is why the man could have gone to court and the judge put an injunction on the tickets.
Let me help you. Let me help you, Alex, with that.
Thank you.
Yeah, so Brian, let me help you as best as I can with that. To meet some condition, some of the IMF condition in 2006, and this would have been to meet the payments. The then Minister of Finance went to Parliament or to Cabinet, and they passed a law to increase traffic fine.
Yes.
But this was to run until February of 2007. Now it run right up until November of 2021. That's last year.
Yeah, but if we are to be fair, the government of which Omar Davis was the Minister of Finance, they lost power in 2007.
Here
at
you
the
go.
End of 2007. So therefore, hold on. Therefore, you could not accuse Omar of not taking off that, because Mr. Shaw would be the person who would have, and Mr. Bruce Golden, who would have the responsibility to do that, because they assume government in 2007.
Yes, but Kevin, what the Minister of Finance did at the time was illegal. He didn't have
No, I understand that. But what I'm saying,
he didn't have the legal right as the finance minister to institute it. It had to be the transport minister.
No, what I'm saying to you that it doesn't matter. If it was done that way and so on, the fact of the matter is that we have had government change immediately after that, because we're talking about a band of 2006 to 2007. Yes. And then you have a government came in place for 4 years, right? Nothing was done about it. Then, of course, you have the other government, the PNP came back in office again in 2011, 2012. Nothing was done. And then the JLP came back in office from 2016 to now, which is almost 7 years. So for one to blame Omar Davis now on this, it is unfair. And that is a sad thing. A bit of politics and these things play in these things. Because how can you blame a man who was at the end, the back of his tenure, put something on, lost the election, and you have a government came in 4 years on, supposed to fix it and didn't fix it, and you blame the man who was there for a mere. Remember that government. Remember that government is a continuum. So if the PNP put something in there and it was illegal, and the people of Jamaica voted the PNP out, the Labour Party come in office, then it is incumbent on the Labour Party to fix it.
No, but Conrad, fair is
Yes.
fair. The minister of the day did not have the legal right to do it.
And I
That's what we're talking
understand that.
about.
I understand that, but I'm saying to you that if that happened for a mere matter of months, they went to the poll, the people voted out the government.
Yes, we understand that, Conrad.
But I'm saying, the fact of the matter is that is a government that comes in, they should lobby to basically overturn that.
Yes, but what we are saying also, what the People's National Party did under Omar Davis, it is unconstitutional.
And I understand all of what you're saying. First of all, I'd have to research that. So, but outside of that, but let me take what you're saying as gospel. Wilfred, Mr. Rattigan.
Yeah, I'm listening.
You understand exactly the point I'm making?
Yeah.
The point I'm making, while I understand that you're saying that something was put in place and it was unconstitutional. So I have government now, right? I put something in place at the ending of December. By June, you say, boy, what Conrad did was unconstitutional and whatever, right? So the people, there's an election call, you vote me out in June. You get the helm to be at the helm in June for a 5-year period. Don't it would be your responsibility to fix that ill that you, because that would form a part of your manifesto that you would put in place. So you're going to deal with these things. It's just like now we're talking about the unconstitutional and how the state of emergency is being carried out. Andrew Holness is doing that. The PNP is now saying that it is unconstitutional and whatever, or how it is being implemented. We expect the PNP to stop it when they come in office. That's all I'm saying.
And will they stop it?
I don't know. I'm not in their heads.
Hello, as far as I'm concerned, Conrad, me and your friend, you know. As far as I'm concerned, the two political party, the word I want to use, I can't use it and then this thing, you know.
Behave, Jeffrey.
This country up.
Behave, Jeffrey.
If Omar Davis wasn't the one who went to Parliament and did this unconstitutional thing to these bus and taxi drivers and other citizens of this country, this crap wouldn't be going on. It's the same way.
No. Hold on,
Conrad. Hold on.
Again,
it is the same way. It is the same way, Conrad.
Again,
Conrad,
hold on. Again, you're speaking out of turn, because what you're talking about is not that tickets weren't there. So if you're talking about what you'd have to say is the amount that they have to pay would not be as much, because tickets was always there.
Yes, hold on a minute. Hold on there. And also, if the Island Traffic Authority, along with the government of this country, know that there's a glitch in the system from the 1990s and nobody did nothing about it, and they want the people to come and pay the ticket now? That's
another thing, because what
in which modern democracy can this nonsense continue to happen only in Jamaica?
Hold on there, Jeffrey. Mr. Finnegan. One of the things that we're also understanding or hearing from a lot of, I was talking to some taxi operators in Old Harbour recently, and a number of them are saying to me that, listen, they have actually paid some amount of the tickets as well, and they're still being harassed for it. They're asked for the receipt, but they don't have the receipt stored because there isn't a connecting of the system. Is that something that you find that a number of your operators are experiencing? Hello?
Unmute your mic, Sir Finnegan. Unmute your mic. Unmute your mic, Sir Finnegan.
Fast. Are you hearing me now?
Yeah, I'm hearing you now, brother Finnegan.
It's muted again.
A whole lot of our, 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 a wh whole lot of operators. Hello?
Yeah, we're hearing you.
Yeah, man, a whole lot of our operators. So let me give you a few examples. There's an operator that had 1,200 tickets. He spent 2 years in prison for those that he went before the court. And those that didn't go before the court is then boss and another boss investor paid off the rest. He came out of prison in 2019 or 2020. Within the 2 years, he has not received not even a seatbelt ticket. He was picked up last week, Thursday, taken to court for 1,200 tickets outstanding. These tickets are tickets that he went to prison for. He was lucky
I hope he will swap the backside off of the government for that.
Well, his former boss is good at that. So
okay.
What saved him is that the court was able to find his record that he was in prison for the ticket. And then his boss came with their receipt to show that they have paid it. One of our elderly investor, very elderly man, he got a ticket in July of this year. He paid it immediately. In September, he was in the Ellison Road area looking for a friend, and he decided to go and check on his license. The ticket that he paid in July was on the system saying that it is outstanding. Now he had to give his lawyer $10,000 along with the ticket to go to court and clear it. And we have a driver. I don't know, he must have grown with his grandmother. He have all his receipts, 352 receipts for all his ticket that he has paid. So he's one of the lucky one that can present his receipts. And all 352 tickets are showing on the Ellison Road system that they are outstanding. And
but with that anomaly, sorry, Mr. Finnegan, with that anomaly in the system, not just taxi operator or public transport operator should be making some noise now. Private people should be actually weighed in, because
exactly
this can haunt you and I, every single Jamaicans, because
and the government
spotlight is on the taxi operator and the bus operator now, but the average the private operator who is driving to work to and fro and taking his child to school or children to school is subject to the same thing. Am I correct, sir?
You're correct. But what is going to be happening after tomorrow now is that all the other sectors that drive is now going to be seeing how serious this oppressive government under the leadership of the Honorable Prime Minister and
the most honorable
his ministers and the chief advisor of transport, the Island Traffic Authority director. The country is going to see how serious they are come tomorrow morning. When you have that, 1 second, Sir Tavares, when you have that 8-vehicle accident on Constant Spring Road that include the coaster bus, they said the coaster bus man have 720 tickets. Now, based on our investigation, 117 of those tickets were given along the Constant Spring Road for failure to stop at a bus stop. Now, this stretch of road originally have 12 bus stops. After the reconstruction, it only have 3 bus stops. So anywhere along that road you stop, as long as there's not a bus stop sign, you're going to get a ticket. And we met with the minister 3 months ago, pointed out the problem up there, and the minister was fuming mad. The minister said, go put up at the bus stop them. 3 months later, we met with the minister again and tell him that up to now, not one. We're not talking about you going physically construct a building for bus stop, you know. What you have is a sign that have 2 words on it, bus stop. And their stage carriage license says you can sit down along the corridor anywhere that is convenient. Anywhere that is convenient to the driver.
So,
But
Mr.
it's not a
Finnegan,
bus stop. 1 second,
This
Sir
is,
Tavares.
this is
But it's not
troublesome.
a bus stop. You're going to be ticketed. Those of you on the panel that would have known Mary Brown Corner. The
Yes.
policeman stand up at Mary Brown Corner. From his shoulder down is hidden around the corner. From his shoulder up, now bend and steer around the corner and watching all the bus coming along that stretch coming down. And anywhere you stop, you make a note of it. And when you come down, you're going to get 4 tickets for 4 failure to stop at a bus stop. And then the police will find up to 9 other charges. Now look at what has been happening, members of the panel. 3 quick incidents. A driver got 9 tickets before 10 o'clock one morning, failure to stop at a bus stop. On his 10th trip, a lady asked him for a stop outside of a bus stop. He refused to get another ticket. You know what he did? Drive to the nearest bus stop. When the lady got off, she marked his face. She marked the bus. And she tell him the BC word and that he must then. On his way back up from Kingston, from downtown, a bike rode up beside the bus, pumped him several shots. He died. A conductor just before you get to the Dunrobin and Constant Spring Road, a passenger asked the conductor to open the door so that he could come off. The doctor know that the police normally be right in a little slip road at the stoplight at Dunrobin and Constant Spring Road. So he refused to open the door. The passenger stabbed the doctor in his neck. And we have hundreds of those cases happening. So if the driver stops somewhere convenient to ticket him, to stop to drop off the passenger before he
we are losing Mr. Finnegan.
bus stop. The passenger going to either set up somebody to kill him.
Boy,
Wherever you're watching and listening from around the world in the Eastern Caribbean, we're talking about the constitution of this SOE, and then we had a breaking news about a bus and taxi. I would say strike, but Mr. Finnegan says not strike.
All right, let me quickly explain the reason why I'm ruling out the word strike, you see, members of the panel. Last week when we instruct our members to withdraw service, a prominent president of an association in Jamaica make a release that the One Voice movement was bringing war to the government. That president inboxed me personally and said, Mr. Finnegan, how much soldiers you have? What are the names of the troops? I refused to answer them. Now, just recently, another association member, leader, accused the One Voice movement of planning to bully the government, one, hold the government of Jamaica hostage, and hold the country hostage. I deliberately tried to leave out the word strike and ask my members to stay home.
But Mr. Finnegan and gentlemen on the platform, we're going to come off anytime soon because it's 10 o'clock.
Yeah, but
it's 10 o'clock.
Before
we go, like I say this, please. The bus and taxi operators, it is full time. They consider this as a business and stop this PNP and JLP bullcrap in this country.
You're right.
The time has come for us in this country.
I agree with you.
To think about this country and don't think about party. When we were born out of our mother, we wasn't born a PNP or a JLP, we were born as Jamaicans. And the time has come for us to think about this little rock. Labour pain bring us here. Not the People's National Party, not the Labour Party. Not aeroplane. The time has come for us to think about it. And the government of the day, they know what is going on. They know that there's a glitch in the system. And they refuse to fix the glitch. They refuse to do it. And private bus and private commuters out there, drivers out there. Is that only bus and taxi operators? This is affecting you.
Not at all.
It's affecting you.
Yes.
It's affecting you.
But so,
and
O'Brien,
how on earth,
Yeah.
in modern Jamaica, in any other modern democracy, and I said it before, if it was Portia Simpson Miller, should have met with the bus and taxi operators.
Long time.
If it was Bruce Orett Golden, you would have met with them. What is wrong with this damn dictator in this country?
So let me ask Mr. Finnegan a question. Mr. Finnegan, let me ask you a question. Let me just play devil's advocate for a moment here. Let's say now that the government, because remember, I described the organization of one of the voices, not a one voice, right? Because you have other voices as well. Now, and you said that, and I asked you, what if you withhold services and the other people start to provide? And you said, well, they're going to suffer the same fate that we believe that we'll suffer because of, the police are going to pull them off the street. They go to court, they lose a license, da. No, let me play devil's advocate. As I said before, let me play devil's advocate. As the government, I say, you know what? I need to get this economy going. I need to get people moving around. It's the festive season. I can't afford it. So guess what? One voice, you don't want to come on the street and transport people. I'll let the other people go, and I'll tell the police, use your discretion. We're not going to arrest any one of these guys right now. Maybe after the festive season, but not right now, not in December when people have to get their own, and this is going to affect the bottom line drastically. What do you do at that point when you see other people operating? What do you say to your members if the government allows them to operate and you decide, well, we're not going to operate?
Well, let me answer you this way, you see? What we are having now on the ground, what you are playing the devil advocate with will never happen. But let me put it, the next way is that should it happen, 10 o'clock this Friday, I have an appointment with a firm of lawyers. Because apart from the withdrawal of service, I have two other Plan C and Plan D. And the one with the lawyer is going to be permanent for the organization. And permanent in the sense that when we get this payment plan off our head, whichever way it works, we will be challenging in the present Road Traffic Act, the present Transport Authority Act. And I'm told that there's a MOU that was signed between some people here in the KMTR and Transport Authority, which we also will be challenging, and other things. So I am meeting with a firm of lawyers, not any individual lawyer, 10 o'clock on Friday. That's one. So if the devil advocate was able to work and the government take that stand, which could not be. What happened,
Mr. Finnegan?
Yes.
To just to put what Mr. Rattigan says in perspective here as well, it could not happen in that regard because first thing to begin with, if the government is mindful to give any particular taxi operators, it would have to be across the board. So if they said that, listen, we're going to allow taxi operators to operate, then certainly it would have to go to those who are under one voice as well, because not like you have some people who are marked on their vehicle say, this is one voice and whatever. So they will basically be a part of the overall system. In addition to that, legally, they could not do that. Government could not do that because what it would be tantamount to is discrimination.
No, Conrad, Conrad, here's the point I was trying to make. That the government, they're not going to single out one voice. They're going to say, hey, we're going to have police discretion. It's a festive season. We're not going to arrest anybody. Just make sure they comply with the traffic code. But, hold back on the tickets and people don't have to come to court. And if they come to court, the judge is not going to take away the license and send them to prison right now. So they do it across the sector, not for any one particular group.
Okay.
I'm saying if they allow that to happen, and then the other voices say, well, we're going to go to work. What will One Voice say to its members at that point?
In a situation like that, you see, the reason why I couldn't answer directly, I would have to meet with my members to help to make that decision. And the way I would want to guide them, I would not. But I'll tell you my position on that. And I'm not speaking for One Voice now. I would not agree to any such arrangement with government. And if I say to One Voice that no, sir, we're not buying into that because this is a temporary thing, and they agree with me, then we're going to be using the court. And that is one of the directions. But gentlemen, let me close by saying something quickly to you, you see? And I want you I have an executive 20. The management committees members spread across the 14 parishes. But there are 3 chief organizers for the One Voice movement. And I don't know if the other 2 is going to know that those are the 2 members. They are very committed, very dedicated. One of them is just a simple, ordinary driver for somebody. The other one is an investor. But they are getting calls from even people in government trying to persuade them from getting soft with the One Voice movement. The 2 of them have been getting called left, right, and center. They are getting called from businessmen. They're getting called from operative in the government, and they are getting people that work with the government. So I said to myself, so why they don't call me? So the person who set them on to be calling these 2 other chief organizers must have warned them that don't call Finnegan. But what they're trying to do now, based on what is before us, is try to weaken those that are around me.
That dovetail into what my colleague and brother Rattigan said at the beginning, the whole business of the divide and rule. So what are you picking up? Are you picking up that those chief members are acquiescing? They're surrendering to those calls, or they're holding
they are not. They are not. They are not. In fact, one of them was in the meeting with me today, and he stood his ground. He stood his ground, man.
Gentlemen,
you know something, gentlemen. We're gonna come off soon. You know something? Is it because some of these presidents of these organizations are yes men to politicians, and they're in the back pocket of politicians? They will give out numbers for people to call people, you know, because let me make something clear this evening. No government, neither the PNP nor the JLP, has ever seen the taxi men and women came so organized like last week, Monday, or whatever Monday it was. I've never seen it. It shocked them. And that is why the PM went and called for a state of emergency.
We know that. We know that.
Is it?
Gentlemen, I want to address 2 or 3 things. And it's something that Mr. Rattigan said. And he was trying to play the devil's advocate. I don't really like that word, but he was trying to play that role earlier when he was asking the question if the majority resume service or continue serving the public. Let me open your eyes to something, gentle people. It's 34 or 38,000 taxi and bus operators in the system, right? And the ratio with the other major groups is 2 to 1,000 One Voice. You hear me say? So One Voice is 1,000, and the other groups are about 2, some are 1, some are half to 1,000. That's the ratio.
Okay.
One Voice has the majority in the system right now. And these are some people that are part of those same associations that have been out there talking of them ears. And when it comes to action time, them try to soften it and cushion it down and buy. Wait for a minute, so wait for a minute. So that's the approach.
Because them who was organizing, they have never seen such organization.
Can I say one thing as we close? Finally, from me. I disagree with you, Mr. Tavares. That is the first we are seeing this kind of organization from taxi operator. Back on the PJ Patterson administration, when and Mr. Finnegan can bear me out, when they talk about increases of gas price, it wasn't. It didn't happen. It didn't happen. It just mentioned, and that was led by the Jamaica Labour Party. Help in that organization against the government. The country was shut down tighter than sardine can.
Tighter than sardine, you're right.
PJ have to come to the people and say, listen, it's a new breed and all sorts of things. I am here. May I walk in encyclopedia. At least me do for a living. And, and hold on. The SOE, I want to say something here. After I finished my workout today at the gym, I went to my health store that I had to have to get a protein shake. I met a gentleman there. Somebody is known to me who works with the transport authority, and he asked me the question. He said to me, "Do you believe?" And I think he was then playing devil's advocate because he well knew what happened. He said, "Do you believe that the state of emergency that the government had called and put on was in retaliation to the step that the taxes operation take? God is a good God." You hear me say? Here it comes right here, so this evening. But, my brother Clarky, God is a good God.
But I said it, but hold on there. Mr. Rattigan, Mr. Finnegan, Conrad, I said it, the day when, because I brought the press conference live, reasons being, it was supposed to be bus and taxi operators. And when they said that, I don't remember if I said it to you, Sir Clark, but I remember saying it to Owen Brown of Roots FM. I said the Prime Minister called the state of emergency because they want to shut up the bus and taxi operators.
Remember, we said it on your show, we said it on your show.
And then he went to his conference and said he will not bow to any organization. How dare you? The people put you there. You are the servant of the people of this country.
Jeffrey?
The Constitution, hold on there. The Constitution give us the right for a peaceful assembly. How dare you to say you will never bow to an organization in this country? Who are you?
It begs the
question. Are you Vladimir Putin?
Bro, God.
It begs the question.
GGP?
It begs the question. What is the motive of the government threatening a few months ago to lock up bus and taxi men come December 1st, and they're going to spend Christmas in prison? Can you hear said that?
And that is to show you, if the government didn't have the intention to do it, they could have come out and said what Mr. Here said is not true, but they did not.
Hold on. And then all of a sudden, when the sector did a withdrawal of service, the next response is that you're going to launch a SOE. Now let me highlight the general public to something. If you drive a motor vehicle or ride a motor vehicle in Jamaica come December 1st, and you're going through a SOE, which you have to present an ID, naturally, you're going to present a driver's license. It will now trigger whoever is operating that checkpoint to run your license to see if your license is one, valid, two, if you have warrants. And if it comes up with warrants, you will be carted off to jail or to traffic court to deal with it, which may be a case where you already paid that ticket, because we all know that there is a glitch in the system. We all know that there's some illegal tickets out there. We also know that there's some spoiled tickets out there that likely to obstruct traffic. And there's another one. What was the other one, Jeffrey? Likely to obstruct traffic.
Remember the other one?
And likely for some other traffic offense. Likely to come
and that is not in the road code book at all.
Those two are not in there. And persons have gotten tickets for those for $10,000 and more. So the system is extremely flawed. And for you to issue a warning like that and to execute an operation like that come December 1st, it's hypocritical, it's unconstitutional, it's immoral. And I am saying to us here as this panelists, we need to edify the public. Don't believe it's just bus and taxi man this thing going to catch.
Absolutely
catch
not.
every driver. You know, I don't remember if it's 1 or 2 tickets I got here in Jamaica. I'm sure I got one earlier this year. I paid it before the time. And me, I worry, so I'm going to check my license.
But if they come for you and start a rebellion, you'll Paul Bogle great-grandpitney.
Jeffrey, where you about the secret from, man?
This is how we're going to come to the end of the
public
program.
secret, man. Public secret. Public secret, that man. Public secret.
But who bad stuff?
I think our attorney on the panel, Wilfred Rattigan, have something in closing to say. Will it?
Yeah. I wanted to ask Mr. Finnegan for if I can get his number from one of the panelists because
I can get it from me. I'll tell you.
Okay. Somebody reached out to me and they want some info. Jeff, remember that call we had today?
Yes.
With that
lady? I was gonna call her to come on, you know.
Oh.
But I said, you know what? No.
All right.
And also, sorry, go ahead. Conclude what you said.
And so, it's been an interesting discussion, and again, it shows the flexibility of the program to deviate from stated mandate to address breaking news. I'll just make an announcement here that my program, Reason with Rattigan, will move. I was informed tonight that it will move from Tuesday nights 5 to 7 to Saturday from 4 p.m. to 6 p.m. It's a better time slot, and they said that they like the numbers and that they're gonna move it. So in fact, the principal owner asked me if I wanted to keep the Tuesday slot and then take on the Saturday slot as well. But I told her, no, it's too much work.
I think you should.
Or maybe Conrad and Jeffrey could start something there, start a movement.
So in fact, Conrad is gonna be on the program this Saturday because I've been getting some very, very complimentary remarks about the synergy between us, and people say, no, you can't make that man just be like I just guess and then you forget about him and then we start guess where him did. Them say no. And some people are complaining that the time flew by and we didn't finish the subject, Conrad. We didn't do proper justice to it. And I had some more things to say, and I'm sure you had a lot more to us as well.
Yes.
So just be prepared for that. And again, going back to the constitutionality of this thing, I mean, it's clear. And well, it remains to be seen what the appeals court will say, but the lower court ruled already that it's unconstitutional. And it's just simply a disgrace that the government would seek to implement states of emergency since then, using the same factors. It just shows a disdain and a disregard for the Jamaican public. And also, you know, it shows that people are disingenuous, you know, when they get to certain positions. And I just trust and hope that programs like this program here will educate and elevate the Jamaican people, as well as people in the diaspora.
Indeed.
To the point where we can, as Jeffrey just said, start a movement and let our voices be heard. And I'm hopeful for that. And I'm not gonna give up. People say, well, you know, this not gonna work. Well, fine. You know what? It definitely won't go anywhere if we don't do anything. So
indeed.
Yeah, and then the other thing too, my brother, I'm gonna have to get you some battery for your watch, man, because I think you have the wrong time.
No problem. Maybe what you need to do is to get me some watch.
Gentlemen, before we finish wrapping up, Mr. Finnegan, maybe the independent here tonight, because I think he's in a bush jacket or a white shirt, right? Right, so Finnegan, your mic is muted. Everybody else have on jacket. I would love for Mr. Finnegan to be the judge tonight. Who's the most spiffiest dresser tonight?
Conrad.
You don't go on, man. Hear me.
Conrad,
Listen, let me just say one thing before I go. Mr. Finnegan, and
Yes,
I
sir.
guess the same connection. I'd love to have you on my program on Monday. I'll be back on air on Monday, News Talk 93 FM, straight up. I'm sure you're a listener. And I would like to engage you because it's going to be very, very interesting going off tomorrow, going into Friday, and indeed going into the weekend. So I'll have to confirm with my producer. However, I think I can safely say that tentatively 10:10 a.m. Monday morning, I'd like to have you on. And that slot I'll have you on between 10:10 to 10:30. So it's about 20 minutes there. All right. So I'll get the information.
That time would be good because I know Jeffrey is gonna want me somewhere 11 or after 11.
That's Tuesday. That'll be Tuesday.
Jeffrey is Tuesday. And
well,
again,
I'll be available.
All
I'll
right.
be available, Sir Brian.
All right, great. So you know, we keep this energy going, and it is good. We work together here. My friend Jeffrey Tavares, Tom Cousin.
Uncle Tom.
Listen,
I'm drunk, but I'm no fool.
You know what I mean?
All right,
so Jeffrey,
so Tavares, I have one question for Mr. Rattigan before I leave.
Go ahead.
Yes, sir.
I
So Finnegan, we're not
consider
hearing
myself as, yeah, are you hearing me now?
Yeah.
Yes.
I consider myself to be very good on researching. So Rattigan, I've been searching the Constitution and the Road Traffic Act for the last 5 or so days, and I can't find it. If there is a statute of limitation on traffic fine.
Excellent question. Great question.
I can't find it.
I don't know what the answer is.
Question for the lawyer.
I don't know what the answer is, but I'll start looking. I'll start checking as soon as we get off.
That's homework for all of us, because I will have to do some work tomorrow as well.
I think it is in the part of fundamental rights, human fundamental right, the new charter of fundamental rights. I think it is in that, I'm not sure. Don't quote me on it.
By a search, I can't find it. I wonder if they hide it.
Well, who knows, because they'll have to amend it. Anyway, gentlemen.
We'll clear that by tomorrow. And Jeffrey, Jeffrey, before you go, I must give you some kudos. Excellent. We have been at this. We weren't scheduled officially for tonight, but you insist that, listen, there are pressing matters and we have to go there. When we are into something, we have what is called special program. So this was a special edition of
Make We Talk.
Special edition of
Make We Talk.
And from time to time, we will have these special edition.
Indeed.
Kevin.
You're hold on there.
Conrad.
Your final word, Mr. Finnegan, before you go, your final word.
All right, thank you all for having me. Just to let the members of the panel know, I have never owned a bus or a taxi, and I do not drive a bus or a taxi. So my interest in the public transportation sector is just as a citizen of this country who realize that here is another sector that needs decisive leadership, quality leadership that believes in accountability and principles. And so I am taking up the challenge and I am moving forward in it. I live in Portland, gentlemen, and I travel to Kingston every morning. And I am now passing the Halfway Tree police station heading to Portland.
May God go with you, my brother.
God bless you. God bless you.
That was
drive safely.
That was the Reverend Finnegan, director of the One Voice Group. Your final word, the great-great-grandson of Paul Bogle, who pretty soon we may have to live a rebellion because of what is going on in our country.
Jeffrey.
One man is saying the only done in this part, you know, there's other Evans. It seems as if it's a military state this country is going to.
Jeffrey.
Both of your final words.
Jeffrey, may I use my time to yield to Mr. Finnegan to judge the jackets?
He already did.
Oh, I would pass Mr. Rattigan on.
Yes,
All
Mr.
right,
Finnegan.
All right, Ratty.
I just so you know, Mr. Finnegan, I was looking it up. Let's say you have 21 days to pay the ticket. Once from the time it's issued, you have 21 days to pay it before a summons is issued.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah,
it.
but he wants to
terms
know
of
the statute of limitation
the status
in terms
of
of
limitation.
prosecution or
Yeah,
court action.
how long it's supposed to throw out?
Yeah, we have some statute of limitation on some things that are 7 years, 12 years.
You know,
but
you have a point there.
I can't find.
Yeah, man, that's what he's
traffic
talking
fine.
about. So,
Right.
for example, let's say you owe some money and all them sort of stuff. You have limitation.
Taxes is 7 years. Taxes is 7 years.
Uh-huh.
All right, I'll
If you
find
owe
it.
20 years of taxes, you're only supposed to pay 7 years.
Ledger,
The
Anyway,
latest 7
gentlemen,
years.
We have to have that for a different topic. Is now 10:27. We're well listening and watching from around the world in the Eastern Caribbean. It is 10:27 in Kingston, Jamaica, 10:27 in Fort Lauderdale, Florida, 10:27 in the neck of the woods where the man of the moment from Waterhouse is. His final word, Wilfred Rattigan.
Yes, thank you for having me on. Thanks for the distinguished panel. Mr. Finnegan, more blessings, and I wish you all the best in your endeavor to get justice and equality that you so richly deserve, you and your members.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah, we started out with this idea of constitutionality, and we ended up talking about traffic and possible, well, not possible, look, it's going to happen. Services will be withheld. And every time I come on to Jeff's program or Jeffrey's program, I learn, I never stop learning, including the fact of his familial relationships I found out tonight from my good friend Conrad O'Brien. So he must know what's going on in Jeffrey's personal life there, his family life. So
I ain't answering Conrad.
I'll take what Conrad said as gospel. Because Conrad not say one or go so. He says what go so. So
Remember, say fire purifier now.
there you go. So I think what we need to do is that we need that. It's too bad because the time just flew. But what we need to do is have this program like this to have more exposure to the public, so that they can understand what's going on, because the ordinary man in the street doesn't understand what's going on, and he's gonna go by sound bites. But what we do is we get to the nitty-gritty of it, and we start showing the genesis of things to where we are right now. And that's what we need to do. It's good that we can learn amongst each other, but we need to make the circle wider, and somehow we need to get it out to people. It might be a struggle, but we have to find a way to do it, because that's the only way we're going to create a better Jamaica, when everyone understands what's going on, and that way they can hold the government accountable. Thank you very much.
On that note, please like and subscribe to the Make
Hold on. The final word goes to the man of the moment, the fireman on New Start 93 FM, Conrad O'Brien.
Oh my goodness. All right. Well, once again, my colleague and friends, brothers, it's really a pleasure, being a part of this August group, and I look forward to share in other programs. I really enjoy the information that came through from Mr. Finnegan. And indeed, we have to give kudos to Mr. Clark, who actually informed us of that breaking story. And indeed, I believe that, we were certainly up on offering that breaking story this evening, and we can claim some amount of credit to really bring the people of Jamaica up on this. I'm sure that people in the diaspora are really reaching out to their family members and so on here in Jamaica to say, do you hear what is happening? On those notes, I want to invite everybody to join me Monday morning at 9 o'clock sharp at News Talk 93 FM. I'll come on with my opening commentary just after the MPR news. And indeed, we go to the heart of the matter. And we always remind the people that we speak truth to power, no matter who the guy is. God bless you all.
Sir Clark, your final word.
Yes.
We did it already.
It was, well, I yielded to Mr. Finnegan, but I'm just going to say something for half a minute. I really appreciate this program tonight because it touched far and wide, and it really edified me for one, and I know it edified our listening audience. And the mere fact that we were online at a time when a breaking news as such that would affect the nation, we were able to break it on here and to actually delve into it in a real-hearted way, and to have one of the main movers and shakers of the transportation sector to share and to enlighten us. I just want to say thanks for making it possible. But, like and subscribe to Make We Talk show on YouTube. Blessings. Yeah, go ahead.
Mm-hmm. This is Make We Talk breaking news. News coming into us that the transport sector will be on strike tomorrow morning as of 4 a.m. The transport sector cannot promise normality in the entire island of Jamaica. You hear it first and Make We Talk. As the transport sector will be on strike as of 4 a.m. tomorrow morning. I just want to say thanks to all my friends for coming on. And before we go, I just want to say this to all our Jamaicans out there. For all those whose cause, for all those cares have been our cause. The work go on, the cause endure, the hope still lives, and the dream for a better Jamaica will never die. My fellow Jamaicans, the time has come for us to rise up, to speak up, to stand up, and do not be weary. Do not be weary of what people may say. The time for us to leave a better Jamaica behind for our children is now. On behalf of all of us here, on behalf of my guests, Wilfred Rattigan, Conrad O'Brien, Reverend Finnegan, and the great-great-grandson of Paul Bogle, Sir Marcel Clark, I'm Jeffrey Tavares saying thank you all for watching. Thank you all for listening on Jam Vibes Radio. Remember to like, share, and subscribe to the Make We Talk Jeffrey Tavares YouTube channel. And I think the next time we're going to come on, we're going to have a distinguished lady who is a journalist, who means no words either. We're going to try and get her on to come on the next time. And as I said before, God bless you all. And may God bless Jamaica land we love. Like, share, and subscribe. Gentlemen, have a good evening.
Likewise. Bless up, everybody.
Bye-bye. Bless up.
Shalom. Shalom.